Commission. That's what I'm about to tell you.
Wow.
The world is brimming with information, and yet the odds are you're not getting any of it. CNN and Fox News, MSNBC, they've become these fast food news companies, right? 30-second sound bites, appetizer clips. They're not giving you any news. They're giving you
tasty tidbits of some newsy little treats.
Right? It ain't journalism. It's corporate advertising. That's where American Mission steps in. Because now you've got a simple yet urgent call to action. Join the fight.
We must rise up, which is why I know every single one of you is here. Thank you.
Meet some great people like Kimberly C., Kelly J., Walter, JP, Andrew, Ryan, Pi, Stacy, Adam Karabachi, right? Ask them. They'll tell you the same thing that I'm telling you. It's not just about saving our values. It's about saving the soul of our unique country. Watching Sean Hannity ask a 60-second question for a 15-second answer ain't cutting it anymore. That's not making a difference. That's why getting involved with the group is so important. For me, it's American Mission, period. And that's because of the people who lead that group. Dustin Stockton, Jen Lawrence, they've been there.
Them who would make sure things didn't get out of hand. And you were in the opposite faction that said we shouldn't do that.
The campaigns, the elections, they fought the fights. That works for me. In fact, listen here to Dustin as he talks with Matt Storm, who, by the way, hosts a great podcast and is one of the best XSpace hosts out there. Ask any one of the Cardone sisters. Brothers, you're just jealous. Shut up. Anyway, here's Matt with JP, Jen, talking to Dustin.
What we found and where we have access to is the Color Revolution playbook that they have used and deployed against a bunch of us, including very specific examples of sending bots to demoralize people, personally hacking into people's accounts, sending out incendiary messages to like all their contacts, then deleting them all and giving people access back to their accounts so they seem crazy. Oh my God, that wasn't me. Somebody hacked my account and said everybody is right, like threw out all this inflammatory stuff. We actually have the records of them doing that shit.
Hey, American Mission has a treasure trove of talented people that they can bring into the fold at any time, Matt Storm just being one of them. I'm going to tell you about some of those people, tell you how you can follow them, tell you how you can get the inside scoop that only they can bring. But hold on. That's coming up, not right now. Hold your horses there, Pilgrim. Okay, that was outdated. John Wayne. American Mission forces state and local leaders onto the X platform to defend themselves, but also to promote themselves. I can't tell you how many local congressmen and mayors and Senate candidates have all come on to the platform to engage with the American Mission audience. Maybe it's because they know in 2024, they've got to speak to us. These people at American Mission, they're active. And now you can be too. Support those who are fighting these battles because it's not just their fight, it's yours too. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember you can join me and Destiny every Wednesday at 5 o'clock, only on X. Stop by, introduce yourself, take the mic. After you've done that, come back here. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any videos. And leave a note in the comment section below. Let us know what you think. Those kind of feedback issues, they don't go unnoticed. They're heard. At American Mission, I'm telling you, your voice is heard. Because when you think about it, that's kind of how the United States is supposed to work. So if you're like me and you've got something to say, then say something.
We're still finding our way. Freedom's our anthem every night and every day. No more hiding, we're wise, no disguise. We are the truth in a world full of lies. High in the sky, just come and explore. The more you speak, the more you roar. So say something, baby, and then say some more. Get out the shadows and step into the light. Joining us in the space and kick into the fight. Wednesday night lightning and our minds are white. We say something, baby, and we can say it all.
Residents, come out.
Oh. Got a little something caught in the throat there. Oh, Des, you're supposed to jump in and sing with me, baby. That was our tune. What are you doing?
I was leaving you hanging.
Tell me about it. Good Lord. Hey, let me ask you something. Could you hear that part? Like, could you hear that track okay? Was it too loud, too soft? What was it?
I could hear it just fine. Yeah, I could.
Well, there we go then.
Well, what about everyone else? I mean, don't just ask me. I'm not the only
I'm not worried about everybody else, Des. You're the only one on this. You're the only one on the stage that matters.
Thanks.
Yeah, you didn't see that one coming, did you?
You know what? I really didn't. I
didn't see it coming either. That kind of caught me off guard a little bit too. You know,
So
it's
now
the
that
kind of compliments.
Mike's being weird today, guys. Don't worry. He's under the weather. Obviously, he's sick. Coronavirus.
I have been under the weather, but those are normally the kind of compliments I only say for Jen Lawrence. But that's if she's in a good mood.
That's because I got cool stuff going on. Cool stuff, and you're excited.
Cool
about
stuff.
It. Cool
God,
stuff.
I wish you could tell everybody, but
I can't tell everybody. But it's gonna be cool stuff, guys. Just notice cool stuff.
Des has got some cool stuff. Everybody say cool stuff together. Wait, nobody can speak. That's okay. Eileen, I wanted to say, I see Eileen in there. I wanted to say congratulations. I was going to try to get in your space earlier during lunch, but you guys, if you're not following Eileen, do so. She is up to 10,000, the big 10K, baby. That is great freaking stuff. Fantastic. So
I remember hitting 10K. That was such a special moment, and I worked so hard for it. Like that was one of the milestones. Like I think I'll remember the most of all of them so far. 10K.
No, I got to put in some more work. I'm still down a couple K, but that's okay. That's life. That happens. I'm not claiming to be as good as y'all are. So screw y'all. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
It's okay. People like me probably have like half my followers are bots. I don't even know. So, you never really know.
I just need like 2,000 more bots just so I can get double digits, so I can be an Eileen.
I'll put a word in with Putin. We'll get those lined up for you.
Okay, well, that'll work. So good to see everybody tonight, letting everybody kind of roll in here a little bit. Obviously, we've had some...
We also don't have a purple pill, you guys. I don't know. Is it not showing up for everyone else? Because I don't see one. I would say, go down there, share the space. But, I mean, you can still share the space with the little outbox arrow at the top. But it's just not there. Is it there for you, Mike?
No, it's not. That is weird. It looks like a little chat circle or something. That's funny.
If you click that plus, it'll give you a post. But there is no
plus.
central. Yeah. There's no plus?
No, there's no plus. It literally looks like a little... I was going to say, I'll take a picture of it and post it, but I don't have anywhere to put it.
You'd have to make a post and then put that post in the bubble.
We've had a couple tragedies take place today.
Now
One
we
of
have
the
a
things
bubble.
we're going to talk about today. That is freaking... it's like, I don't know if I should be more ashamed that I'm thinking about the tragedy or if I'm thinking about the way that the other side is going to spin it. And that's kind of disheartening in itself.
Well, let's get into it.
Yeah. What do you think, Jen? You heard about what are your thoughts on today, and what angle do you think they're going to take with it?
I haven't really paid attention to the news today, so I'm kind of scared. What you have to say? Is it the tenant media stuff?
No, that would not be it.
Okay, I'm totally out of the loop too. I'll be honest. I was not paying
the
attention
school
today.
shooting?
Yeah.
Oh, there's one in Georgia, right? Is it Georgia?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
bad that I'm like desensitized to school shootings?
No, it's
Like I just feel like it's like an example of the left again, and they're gonna spin it for a gun grabbing argument. Like it's not the gun who does it. Maybe you should talk about all the drugs you have on the kids on. Like, and why are these people always known to FBI? Why is all the kids in the school always interviewed and they're like, we're not shocked at all. Little Jimmy, he was quiet, had no friends, spent a lot of time in his mother's basement, right? Like, I don't know.
I think you're totally right. Because I'd asked myself that too. Is it weird that we're desensitized to? I mean, if you look at it from two different angles, Jen, it's like you could be desensitized, and that's common sense. Like that's just going to happen. There's no way. If you had 25 9/11s, the 25th 9/11 would not be as bad as the first. There's just like that's what the human brain does in captivity. It's what it does to adapt. That's how the brain works. So I think the desensitivity is there. I do think that I do. Like if you were to look at it from an odds perspective, and you look at the number of people involved, and again, I know this sounds cold, and I do not mean it like that at all. But based on the odds are you will never encounter anyone that ever encounters that. You know, what do you think?
Okay, my question is, we've had all these school shootings. Okay, why is it that they can catch the kid trying to sneak out of class, but they can't catch the kid who's coming into the school with a gun when you're supposed to have resource officers posted at the doors? Okay, you have these fat liberal teachers who are like, oh, I'm hot, let me prop this door open because I'm hot, not worrying about like, oh, a kid could come through here with a gun, right? Like it's like they give these people a false sense of security, yet they're the ones who are lapsing by allowing these kids even into the school. Like, how are they accessing the school with a gun when we've had how many school shootings and we still can't prevent kids with guns, but you want to call the truancy people on the kids who skip out of school? Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, and that kind of goes to, you know, what we're going to talk about tonight is there's a lot of things that kind of contributing to the downfall of the United States, and the question is, you know, are we witnessing it happen right in front of our face? And I know a lot of people out there, a lot of people, listeners, feel free to grab a mic, take the stage. You know, I know a lot of people believe that our country is heading in a different direction because of certain things, right? Certain, you know, whatever maybe affects them personally. Me personally, I believe this is coming down. And again, I know this sounds kind of blanket statement type deal, but I believe everything is coming down to a religious aspect or a spiritual aspect, and maybe religious isn't the right, but a spiritual aspect. Like I believe that we are being infected more with evil. Evil is being tolerated more. We are more desensitized to it, and I think I really think that that's what's pushing us down this slope. You know, I really believe that. Like I'm not just saying it. I truly believe that. Des?
Sorry, I was making a post, so of course I had to be like the minute that was happening. I was reading an article today. It's on the Washington Post. I'm about to publish or put up the article in a post, and I'll put it up in the nest as well. But the Washington Post put it out today. More than 382,000 students have been exposed to the experience of gun violence. There's been 416 total school shootings, including the one today. Since Columbine, so since 1999, 416. And I remember looking into these statistics about a year ago, and I'm sure it's somewhere on my X. But at the time, a year or two ago, it was just over 365. It was like 367, I think, total deaths from students in school shootings since 1990, since Columbine. So it's a problem, right? Like it's just, it's horrifying to know kids can't go to school safely. And Jen's right. You should have resource officers. I remember my resource officer. I still remember his name. I could recognize him in the lineup. You know, like I know my resource officers from my school and high school. And luckily, we never had that kind of problem, of course. But shouldn't they have these there? And I know in Virginia, where I live here, the schools are like, you have to go through, if you live in Newport News or Portsmouth, all the kids have to go through metal detectors just to get into school. And that's even into elementary. So it's amazing to know that some schools obviously are lapsing. And obviously, so are some of the police that are responding to some of these, like, you know, when it happened in Texas. It was just poor response. I'll land. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jen.
Well, no, and listen, I feel bad for the families. Like, obviously, no parent should ever have to bury their kid, right? But, like, at some point, right, you have to call a spade, and it's obviously a larger problem than the guns. And the fact that they exploit it every single time it happens, right? And they feel empowered because they're protecting the children, even though those are the same, you know, children that literally probably earlier today were having gender studies and trans identity shit shoved down their throats, right? So, like, are you really protecting the kids by taking the guns, or are you exploiting children to further, you know, help, like, have an excuse to take everyone's weapons away so you can install this communism that you want on our country, right? And Mike, you talk about the downfall of the United States, like, this shit I'm witnessing, right? Everyone's like, oh, well, it can't happen. It's not lawful. Like, that's not how the law works. Well, it's happening. Do you think these people care about the law? Right? And that's the scary part. Like, here you have them labeling Benny Johnson, Tenet Media, all of them Russian spies. They've received $10 million from the Russians to influence the elections, coming out of the DOJ. Like, oh, you're so, again, in 2020, are you going to start, you know, rating us at 4:30 in the morning again? Is that your next step? Right? Like, what are we witnessing here? And we have to be loud about it because this isn't right.
No, I agree. And I think didn't we all know, though, Jen, that there was going to be some kind of event like this, some kind of school shooting, police violence or something. Like, didn't we know that something like this was going to happen? We have 60-something days.
Yeah, but
it's coming.
I don't think this is it, Mike. I think this is literally like one of their little fear tactics, but I don't think that school shootings have the impact that they used to. I think the country has literally become desensitized to school shootings, and it's only the Democrats that are using it. And, like, they're doing it so disingenuous that you can't help but see the disingenuous nature of what they're saying.
So I invited Margot up here because I love Margot's opinion, especially on things like this, because she's very adamant and she is very focused on what she believes. And so, Margot, I wanted to get your thought. We're talking about the downfall of the United States. First topic we brought up was the school shooting today and how that kind of contributes to it. I want to get your feedback. What do you think?
Well, I think that there were warnings and these children were put in danger way before that shooter got on campus because there were warnings in the morning. And if they really cared about those kids, what's another day off? Hell, you'll take it off when there's sleet on the road. But you let those kids be put in a bad position. And that's on the adults in the room. Just plain and simple. And then the second thing I think is it's a travesty. And no child should have to feel unsafe away from their parents where they're mandatorily supposed to attend when, you know, where their parents get, you know, put in jail or get letters for truancy, whatever. And here, and it totally makes it makes it more important to look at your kids going to homeschool. But the biggest thing for me is this happens every election cycle. There's a mass shooting every election cycle. You can go back and look at it. And the second part of it is every recorded shooter has been on some of antipsychotic drug, something. They've either been on antibiotic steroids, or they've been on antidepressants, or they've been on some type of antipsychotic, or both. And this is not just an issue about guns and children. This is a big pharma issue that no one wants to own. And I find that the most important thing of all is that these kids have been put in a position where they feel like they're, you know, depressed because some girl broke up with them, or, you know, they can't take their dog to school, or they can't dress like a cat, and instead of owning their feelings, they think it's better to go on some antipsychotic drug, and then this is what happens. This is the travesty of the system. And honestly, I just say this all the time, but people don't realize that I mean it. You cannot blame the sandwich for making you fat. Where'd that kid get that gun? The sandwich doesn't make you fat. Shut your mouth. Guns are not what kill people. It's the person behind the gun that kills people. And I'm really pissed off at who gave him that gun. But I'm also concerned because people refuse to look at the big pharma piece of this, and that is a major, major issue. That's really all.
Mark, a quick question before we get. I'm going to go to Brian and Chris in just one second, but I wanted to ask you this quick question. When we talked about shooters, like I still remember, Jen remembers this as well. I can still remember Diligent Space, man, when the freaking assassination tip happened. Like I still remember what that felt like. And now all of this time later, and I'm not talking about the shooter in Nashville, right? Who we still don't have the manifesto. They still haven't released that.
We have the manifesto. And it's exactly what you thought it was.
The anti-Christian?
As of today, we have it. We have it. Anti-Christian.
Yeah, no, the school shooter.
Yeah, we have the manifesto.
When did that? I totally missed that.
Today.
Yesterday.
Crowder put it out. Yeah.
Dude, that is so weird that I just brought. Like, I did not know. That is freaking weird. Wow, amazing. That is that. No, I'm going to have to read that.
Literally, what you think a diatribe of a psycho trans person with a mental problem would write
on
antipsychotic textbook
and on anabolic steroids. Listen, they wanted to coin steroid rage back in the 80s and the 90s for all those weightlifters, but that's the same steroids, anabolic steroids, that these trans people are getting.
I watched a buddy of mine who suffered from roid rage literally go out to a dude's go out to the parking lot and bash his freaking window in his car with a baseball bat. Went freaking nuts. There's some other things that happened, but I'm not going to get into that. But I want to say this. Okay, so all of these months later, now we have the manifesto. Okay, we still haven't got it. We still haven't got any explanation. I'm not talking about incinerating the body of the person who tried to assassinate the president. But I'm talking. But why have there been no interviews with the parents? Like, why do we still not have any of this information out? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all confusing me. And Jen, to your point earlier, the school shootings, these aren't the main events anymore. These are just the little sprinkles, right? That they're throwing in there. And so it's like Cardone says a lot in his other spaces. We've got 60 something days. They're coming. They're going to bring it. Like, it is coming. Whatever they're going to do, they've already tried it. They've got to do it in the next 60 days. There's no doubt about it that it is coming. That light at the end of the tunnel is a freight train. They are coming with this stuff. And this is just like a little spark. And it just blows my mind that we're not going to get any information from this. Like, we're not going to find out, this kind of stuff. Nobody's going to talk about Jeff Bezos and freaking Amazon pretty much going to be running the whole pharmaceutical industry from the inside out. But it's just the lack of information is what really frustrates me. And I'm kind of curious as to how this kid, he got caught. Like, does that, and that's the only thing that confuses me, is does that fit the narrative that they have someone alive?
Well, apparently this is supposed to be one of 5 that are going to happen, right? So are you going to close all the other schools to make sure this guy was acting alone, right? Because they're still trying to sell us the bill of sale that there was one shooter at the Trump, assassination. And they're also trying to sell us that there was one shooter at the Vegas shooting when the bullet trajectory into the people in the crowd came from above, not at an angle. So I'm just wondering, are we going to play these games where they're presenting us with facts and we as the American people collectively go, oh, okay, it's coming from CNN, it's coming from Fox, this is what's happening? Or are we just going to sit up and be like, nope, not taking it. Nope, that's bullshit. Nope, we're not complying. You can't do this. It's up to us, because either we go along with their narrative or we don't. And about anything not
But Jen-
peaceful, people.
Jen, here's the
Peacefully.
part about what you're saying that really bothers me. A week from now, there won't be a narrative. This will be swept under the rug, and we'll be on to the next thing. You know, if you talk to people, or you even watch a TikTok video on the left, they will tell you that Trump staged his own assassination. Like, that's how deep and bad it is. They just totally want to it's an event to the family, but it's nothing to the world now.
But see, this is the problem, right? And although we don't want to act cocky, right, and say like, oh, we're winning, whatever. No. We're losing. We're always losing. We should be fighting like we're losing, right? However, the algorithm, right, and social media is presenting us with the worst of the worst of the worst from the left, right? The literal blue hair goofballs, right, who are all in our comments, who probably might be bots, right? But when you go on TikTok, right, there is an overwhelming, like, anti-Kamala, never Kamala sentiment from a lot of people who, if you go back on their timelines, aren't Republican. They're not conservative and they're not MAGA, right? And I think that we're being over inundated with all of this shit from the left to make us believe, right? Because they hold the vestiges of truth, quote unquote, right? They hold the mainstream media and they hold most of the other social media platforms, right? That aren't owned by Elon or aren't owned by whoever owns Getter or True and Donald with Truth, right? But on all the other ones and on all the TVs, they literally control those things, right? So they are controlling the message that is getting out. But the American people, I don't think, right, and a vast majority of them believe the utter bullshit that they are putting out. Like, it's so stupid that a child, right, like my 13-year-old turns around and she's like, that doesn't even make sense. Why are they doing that? Right? Like, I think we're just being inundated. And I think a vast majority of the American people are like, no, my life was better 4 years ago. I could afford groceries. I could afford gas, because the one poll that the Harris, like, Biden administration can't get away from right now is the poll that shows the number one, right? Even though Kamala is telling us her great granny was out on the streets of like Kathmandu or some shit promoting abortion in like the 1800s or some dumbass shit, right? They don't believe that. And the one poll is that the majority of Americans, their number one issue is the economy. It is the everyday essential issue. It's not abortion. It's not, right? And obviously the left isn't going to admit that, but I also think we need to be like, not be like, oh, these dumbasses, nobody believes this. The vast majority of Americans are retards, right? Like, I don't think that's a winning message for us, right? I think there are a lot of people who are just quiet, who don't want people to know how they feel.
Well, RockX just sent me, just DM'd me Crowder's freaking post. And like that first line, if God won't give me a boy body, I'm like, oh my God. Wow, I have definitely got to check that out.
No, like
I
said, it's literally like exactly what you think it would be.
Wow. That first line is a doozy. Brian, my man, jump in there, brother. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Can you hear me all right? You all
sound fantastic, brother.
All right, just to make sure. So I've got a good question for you here in light of this, and I don't see anything good coming out of it. I'm glad that we got the response to it that we did, right away timing. The official position, of the in recent matters concerning censorship, how this is going to go forward, with social media. My question to you, the DOJ and FBI's officials will now leave it up to social media firms to decide whether to post shared information, remove content, or block users, and will not retaliate against their decision to take action. this could go from state to state now in a particular manner. I'm glad we get to hear about it. Hopefully they won't censor other areas, sort of maintain it to their state. I feel strongly opposed to those types of people that feel like, like we watched Oregon burn down, Seattle, Chicago. We've watched many states catch fire, and some people have the attitude on the left, that, well, if those states burn, it's not my state, that's them. I'm for America, right? So that means I want to see every state do well. And if we have a problem in one state, that should be a problem for every state, I think, in a manner of speaking. Not that, we should have to go heavily into detail, but this is touching our children now, and whether social media will be able to, promote that kind of content or censor that kind of content. How do you think that'll move forward with these new measures? And thank you.
Well, that's a great question, Brian, but I want to ask you a question instead. If these measures did take place, what would you do, you personally, Brian? Because Brian, those of you who don't follow Brian, you should do that. Give him a follow. He's got very good opinions, very strong opinions. He knows what he believes. He knows where he stands. So the question is for you, Brian, what would you do legitimately if X did not exist in the format that it does today?
Well, the same thing that I've been doing, and that's with my children. My children are in college now, so typically they're older than 18. They're out of my control, but informing them, letting them know these particular things, or just making sure that they have some manner of knowledge of what's going on, and that they're based in understanding that. Not that all of it's understandable, but I'm getting in touch with people in my area to see their concerns and how they feel about it. As a matter of fact, my area, they're welcoming much of the social media aspect. I'm hoping that they will allow such content to be maintained or to be published so that we could get a response right away that's necessary if they take a firm position on holding back, information from states. We saw, I brought it up because of the recent censorship between, such as the journalism campaign between California and New York. They suddenly decided to start not sharing information there for a while, and that was actually brought up through the media also, and the Media Matters thing. All of these things have touched in a major way, and how these things move forward. Mark Zuckerberg's recent position on this, Elon Musk's censorship of Brazil, having to cut them off and dealing with that moving forward. Anger. Yeah, I'm angry. I'm thankful that X is here and that we're able to talk about this openly as adults, that we might see this coming and try to prepare for things or get our conversations right, because I think that's going to matter moving forward based on who will be able to talk, the kind of language they use, and how that's influencing, their surrounding areas. So I think it'll vary from state to state based on what they can or can't get away with. So I'm sorry, that was a mouthful, and I am approaching people in our areas because we've got X8 Labs, that is a startup here in my state, in my hometown, actually, 2 locations. Cybersecurity. They're looking more into the youth, and I think that's a problem also. They all think that it's for the better. I think it's quite a detriment to our society, but we'll see how this goes. And I think that the media should be far more cautious in not what they allow to be presented, but what they cover themselves. So, thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother. Always good to have you up here. Always like your opinion on things. And it does, I don't know, it does seem like that the downfall of the United States is kind of underway. I don't know if we'll know it for sure until we look back at it. Hopefully it's not what a lot of us think it is, but it might be. And I guess we need to be aware of it. Chris, jump in there, brother. What do you think? What in your opinion, Chris, do you think is the number one thing leading to what could be the downfall of the United States?
That's a great question. I just posted my synopsis that I wrote a couple days ago on that very thing. They're going to incarcerate Trump and create a situation, whether it's real MAGA or fake MAGA type situation, to where civil unrest is going to happen. They're going to deploy their mercenary armies they're training in some of these refugee facilities, the UN, NATO, and they're going to stop the elections. And this is one of those things leading up to it. It's like the guy who tried to assassinate Trump used a AR-15 because it's an AR-15. But if you were a real sniper and you're trying to take someone out, you wouldn't use a 5.56. You would have used a 308, bigger caliber. So if they had armor plating, you wouldn't have to worry about that type of thing. Don't you just comparison and contrast here of what if in Aurora, Colorado, a bunch of MAGA people took over a couple of buildings? What would happen? That place would be swarming.
It would be swarmed with freaking. It would be the National Guard. You'd even find a way to get troops onto United States soil if that happened. For God's sakes,
100%, right? So if you compare the contrast of something like this going on, no outreach, no nothing, no dissent from the left at all. It's like January 6th. If you take January 6th and go, well, what about the Weather Underground and what they did? Oh, they're heroes. Okay. Compare and contrast is not there. It's total stark opposites. It's what's good for me is good for me. And what you're doing is really bad. And we're going to take all you out and put you in camps because you guys are psychotic. You remember the FBI going around to gun shops and saying you have to sell guns to refugees if they come in to get one? Remember that? So
I think we're more caught off guard by the refugees and the migrants getting $150,000 or whatever it was out in California to maybe buy them a nice little house.
Right. The communist California where I live. So if you do a comparison and contrast, it's like, what the hell's going on here? How come it's not consistent? Well, it's because it's a narrative and they're building it up right now. We should call up Homeland Security and say, it's a bunch of QAnon people in Aurora, Colorado taking over the buildings. They would be all over it, man.
That's a great idea. We should just go to Aurora and hand out a bunch of MAGA shirts to all the immigrants and then just let them wreak havoc just a little bit. Just a little bit. We'll get it under control and be like, they obviously don't speak English, so they don't know what's on the shirt after we already blame the other side.
Okay. I'm just saying, there you go.
It's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye. I'm just saying.
There's already U.S. troops, by the way, in New York preparing for Trump's indictment or sentencing, I should say. I'm not sure if you guys have seen those videos, but they're in the hotels. And yeah, supposedly since the NYPD is thinking about having a sick day that day and making it so they couldn't transport him, now the military is going to back him up. So they're already violating posse comitatus. So,
Vinny, real quick question, then I'm going to go to JB and Mr. Do-Gooder. But Vinny, what do you think if you had to put something, if you had to just give me a off the top of your head thing on the Trump sentencing thing, what do you think?
What do you mean exactly? Like what's going to happen?
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen? Like if you were to put money on something, if you were, poly market, what do you think is going to come of that moment?
Well, that's a hard one. I'm on the fence of either the Supreme Court stepping in. I think we're going to learn a lot about how much we're there. Either the Supreme Court steps in and we're like, oh, okay. And then they'll probably also be active during the election, which gives me hope. Or he'll go to jail. And I have zero doubts that they're going to go to jail. Anyone who thinks he's going to be put on house arrest, I'm sorry. You're the same people who thought he was going to be innocent, or found innocent, I should say. So yeah, that's how I think about it. I think either the Supreme Court steps in or Trump's sitting in jail. So I guess I give it like a 65% chance he's in jail, and then we get used to that. So it's
really
real weird. Yeah, because I think look at it, dude. They're not afraid to do anything.
They are not afraid to do. That's a great point. They're not at all.
So why would they stop? Why would they stop? That's how I sit there. They have no reason to stop. They get to say he's in jail. Kamala Harris then gets to go, I can't debate someone who's in jail. And then
I don't think so. Come on, like think of the retaliation that they would be risking.
But to Vinny's point though, isn't that what they
did it? It's already done. Putting him in jail the people will get upset, but it's already been done. It's a slow walk. I honestly think that's why they waited till September, because if they would have done it too early, then it would have. Now it's like, do it now. Now you get to hide the fact that she's a bumbling idiot. And now you get to have these little schemes in the prison where you try to get them isolated and kill them, and all the other things that are going on. And so now you get, you know what I mean? Then they're going to send out the right? They're going to send out the rhinos, and the rhinos will come out and go, he's in prison, guys. I don't know. Maybe he should, you know what I mean? Like you can already see how they're going to craft everything. And I think the thing is Trump, it's going to be a Mandela thing. I think Trump's going to get voted in from prison. Elon said it, the most entertaining thing is the thing that's most likely to happen. So I
true.
I think he's probably going to go to jail, and I think there'll probably be another attempt on his life in jail, but he'll probably be surrounded by a lot of people who like him. I think the thing that'll be surprising to them, and what I'm hoping for is if he does go, is that all of a sudden he has the jail wrapped around his finger, and everyone's like, wait, this guy's cool, and he wins even them over. And then it's like,
he should have thought of this ahead of time, though. Like, if you knew you were going to prison and you're running for president, the first thing I'm saying, if I know I'm going, is like, if I'm president, I promise to like reduce, all the prison sentences and reform. I would have had him on my side before I went in there. But I mean, you can hope he's going to be in good company. We don't know yet, but he should have. Somebody in his campaign should have worked that out, and they didn't.
All new vending machines for the D block.
Yeah, they're already rearranging Rikers, and they have the military in there. They know the orders have gone out. They wouldn't be doing all this if they were going to do house arrest. And I know it's going to be surprising to people, and it's even going to be surprising to see. But guys, look what they did. Look what they're doing.
Benny, I normally really just dig your shit, but I got to tell you, dude, I was not going to join this space. I was just going to listen down there, but I got to do a little wager on the 65%. He's going to fucking go to jail. I
thought it was a little high myself.
I'd like $100 on that, please.
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
And if you want to do more, you can just add as many zeros as you would like.
Oh, trust me, I know you can match anything, Gary. I'm not that crazy.
No, I'm just saying that for me, the bet I would be, it'd be a interesting bet in size. I don't think I can get that in the market. But I do agree with you that he could be. You must have fantasized about Trump going to prison, and maybe you're stacking in there with him or something, because you really had. I could feel your passion over your story. You buy it. I do think he'll be shot or attempted to be killed again if he hadn't already. Most certainly, or we don't have an election at all. I do agree with that, man. Because 62 days, folks. Okay, we don't have a year, 4 years, 12 years. It's 62 days. This shit's happening right now under our feet. And I don't think people really understand that it is literally happening on our watch. I just made a comment the other day. I'm like, hell, man, this is actually happening. I think even the people that are living it, it's hard for me to actually acknowledge this is happening. The most important question you asked tonight, Mike, was, hey, what exactly are you going to do, sir, if you can't come here and talk to the people in this new virtual community you've built? This little church that we've built here. And we need to start using these words, guys. Okay, this is now a community, a tribe, a church. I could easily turn this into a religion, smack dibbity dab. And that gives me more than just freedom of speech. Okay, I have the right to commune, don't I? Don't
we have
right?
we have the right to form a militia too. That's another thing you could call this group.
Yes, see, we need to start using I also have the right to be educated and to provide education. In particular, since COVID showed us that the government cannot and won't, state or federal, guarantee education to our children. So how can you then take away these platforms? You've taken away speech, you've taken away education, you've taken away access to others around the world, and spiritual help. You complain about all the medical bills, and there's actually whole groups dealing with mental health issues on Spaces and other platforms like that. How can this be harmful? This is the tack we need to take. Because that's basically saying, oh, you want to strip away every one of our rights? Fuck off.
I completely agree with Gary. I'm on Gary's page. I think that's the silver lining of being put through as much bull crap as society has been put through, is eventually for those who, have some integrity left in them, they're like, hey, you know what? No, we'll figure it out on our own. Like, if you're going to do this to us, we'll just, if we band our heads together, we got this. And I see it all the time with sustainable farming and prepping and, medical stuff. Like, it's everything. And people really get into it. And there are experts that come into these spaces all the time, professors and teachers, doctors, it's amazing. And it's pushing people to just kind of say, okay, if that's the status quo and the status quo is always fucking me, then I will leave and we got this. Don't worry about it. You guys do your own thing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I do too. I think that I would like to see a space one day where we may be kind of like a space that is dedicated to a single specific topic, where we gamify, we game this out based on
Mike. No, that's not how spaces work. We don't stay on one topic.
I know we don't. That's the problem. I didn't say me and you do it. I mean, everybody else could do it. I freaking get Alpha and Vinny. I'm neither the woman you are or the man Alpha is. So, yeah, whatever. Let's go to JB's got his hands up, then Mr. Do-Gooder, and then we'll get to Doc coming to you.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. Good evening, everybody. And I wanted to approach this addressing one thing because I heard what Margot said, and then I heard what Vinny said, right? And when I heard what Vinny said, I thought about, man, we got a legislative branch that's not functioning properly, right? We got Senate that sit in the House that sit in their seat longer than the president does, right? And I just wanted to say that because I think to Vinny's point, man, that it has a lot of relevance. But then to what Margot said, right? Like, how many times do we got to blame the guns, the Big Macs, and the fentanyl as the problem before we use our common sense and understand, to your point, Mike, that Johnson & Johnson owns super poppy fields across the world, and they also own private prisons.
Amen. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly.
Don't start triggering her with freaking pharmaceuticals and prisons and kids going missing in this country, bro. That's where we're getting to that, though. I mean, that's part of the downfall of the United States, and it's coming. There's no doubt about it. Spit it out. Good Lord, it's my first time to talk in public. Mr. Do-Gooder, what you think about what's been said so far?
Man, I appreciate what everyone has offered so far. You posed a question, in terms of, is this the downfall? Is this what this looks like? And I think it is. It has the potential to be. Rather, let me correct my language there, because you can speak things into existence. I believe in that. What we're seeing with the school shooting, a bunch of mass school shootings and things of that nature, we're seeing a very deliberate act take place. And I'm going to focus on the children, because that's the future. Obviously, that's something that people say all the time, and it's almost quirky to say it, but it's the truth. What the managerial class has done, politicians, DOJ, all those higher up folks, they're one, severing the relationship between the parent and the child. And they're doing that under the nose and under the guise of compassion. They've attempted to and successfully have changed language in which even us on the right have changed our language because that's just the thing to say. I've seen it in real time. I saw it on Fox News. The moment it happened, I stopped watching Fox. Back when there was looting going on in 2020, they brought some left-wing dude on, and the moment that they did, he raised a fuss about the word looting, said it was some racial undertones to it. In real time, I saw the chyron, the words at the bottom, change from looting to smash and grab because he said so. And I just turned the TV off. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. So they miseducate these kids purposefully to screw up their world. So when you take a miseducated kid home to good, loving parents who grew up in a world much like we did, where language was normal. A boy was a boy, a girl was a girl. There was not this confusion, gender bending thing. Well, it's going to cause problems at the home. So then, okay, what do they do then? They socially and intellectually stunt these people by continuing to pour this down into their minds. Then they physically alter them with drugs because they've now gotten to the point where they can physically believe in themselves, the children, that, hey, you know, I am this, I am that, or I am neurodivergent, or whatever it is. All of a sudden, they get hooked on these drugs. Then they're starting to re-engineer coping mechanisms in some of these kids. And the coping mechanisms suck. I mean, it is one of the most destructive things we've ever seen. You have kids dying left and right because of opioids. You have kids who swear up and down that they have. I mean, it's a popular thing to be to have some sort of ailment. Like that's a trend. And so then, because of all of this, you have mass shootings, you have all kinds of craziness that occur that did not occur, you know, back when they had shooting classes back in the day. Why didn't we have that back then? If this is something that was innate in people, this is purposefully done. And then because they have allowed people to die, think the Gulf of Tonkin, this country is not above allowing people to die for their ends. They've done it before, and I know they will continue to do it. And so all that just to propagate, we've got to disarm the population. And all that's going to do is make sure that in perpetuity, the managerial class, the people who are making the money off of everything that I just said, all from the drugs, from the management, from the psychiatrics, the doctors, the hospitals, everything, the politicians getting kickbacks from the lobbyists, they're all getting money from that. It's all one big cesspool. And so by disarming the population, those who have not been miseducated, all that's going to do for them is guarantee their security for the future, because once they have built that cage and that hamster wheel for those young people, they are forever going to be rich and forever going to control what happens in this country. So I fully believe, because I didn't believe it until I went to this place. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. It's where I'm from. And I went to this place called Von Elrod's, and it was college night. And I was there with a group of mine, the pamphleteer, and they had this meeting of the minds type of deal. It was a real cool bunch, but we're all Republicans. I wore my Trump hat. Everybody there from Vanderbilt was all littered all over the place. Bunch of girls and everything. And I promise you, I had that hat on, and not one soul out of hundreds of them, not one soul was remotely even close to being center. They're far left of center. And I thought to myself, we are in big trouble. I think I'm 35 years old. I think if you are under the age of 30, I would not trust that generation and younger to protect this country. I would not do it. It needs a massive overhaul. And so I don't think we're at the end quite yet by any means, but I think we're going to have to get out of our comfort zone really quick. But That's just my thoughts from what I've seen. I appreciate all the input so far, y'all.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Those are a lot of great points. The language, the language, the cages, the metaphors are just, they're flowing in this country right now. And I don't even think we can get around it. Doc, what's your thoughts on what Mr. Dugatter said or what some of the other people have said?
Well, hey, thanks, Mike. I know I have a short time. I appreciate you coming to me in front of the other hands here. And sorry, guys, but look, I feel very, very optimistic about where we're going. And so if Gary wants to offer me that $100 bet about us not having an election or some event that will derail where we're obviously headed in this election, I'll take that bet. I think what we are seeing is the power, number one, of the PSYOPs that we've been going through the last few years. If you think you haven't been affected by it, I would just ask you to question that. Maybe you haven't. I think a lot of people have. I think that we fear the left and their power way too much at this point. What I think we're going through here is an intentional and maybe second or third time in our country realignment of the political parties. There's no more Whig party anymore. There's no Bull Moose party anymore. And it's my thesis that there's no Republican party anymore. It has been destroyed by Trump over the last 8 years and their fruitless efforts to take him down. So here's what I see as the new, we talked about this before, a MAGA party. Okay, but I think Trump has certainly taken over a portion of the Republican Party because his daughter or his daughter-in-law is now head of the RNC. And regardless of what she's done or hasn't done, she's going to be 1,000 times better in terms of delegating resources near the election to help those candidates who have a chance to get pushed over the line with a little bit of late money, which Ronna McDaniel in the RNC intentionally subverted and did not do. We lost several races because of the way they pulled money from races where we were close and put it in the races where we had no opportunity to win. For me, MAGA party now is labor. I mean, the Teamsters have not come out and supported the DNC. And even where labor leaders have come out in support of Kamala or Biden, the labor members themselves who talk about, particularly the auto workers, the threat to their jobs, they're not going to vote for Kamala and Biden. It's Silicon Valley. It's Elon Musk. It's David Sachs. It's those owners of X who they see down in Brazil, or the corporate oligarchs are not up to fighting the power of a Marxist dictator like we now have in Brazil. It's the rap and the black community who have come on board with Trump, and they were always on board with Trump. If you go back to the 80s, the 70s, and 90s, Trump supported, as a Democrat, many of those populist blacks that helped control and influence the party back in the 80s, like Jesse Jackson. It's the blue collar worker and lower middle class who are now struggling with Biden's inflated economy. They're not going to vote for Biden and Harris. It's the 25 and under group worried about being able to afford life and being able to buy a home. It's those being afraid to be drafted into a war that they don't support, that the people don't support, that there's been no declaration of war or no authorization to use military force as we used for 20 years in the Middle East. The National Defense Act that just passed the funding for it included a mandatory draft registration for men and women. Go look it up. It hasn't passed the Senate yet. MAGA is blacks and Hispanics and anyone who's been abused by our courts and justice system. The reaction to the indictments, particularly the one in Georgia, the support from the black community that's come out, support from numerous very, very popular Hispanic rappers as well have come out and supported Trump. These are all formerly liberal groups who supported just reflexively the Democratic Party. It's boomers who remember when America was great or better, who reject the call for progress, aka let's call that Marxism. It's the military, it's former military, law enforcement officers who've rejected the call of opening the jails and freeing criminals under the call of equity. It's peacemakers and the youth who reject the draft and our illegal and unconstitutional wars in Gaza. I mentioned that. It's those who believe in the Constitution. It's those who reject open borders. And finally, it's those who reject pedophilia, Marxism, and Satanism. So who's today's Republican Party? It's the globalists You can't distinguish the rhinos in the Republican Party who are formally in control and the Democrats. They share the same policy goals. They support the mainstream media and are supported by the mainstream media. They support Fauci, right? They support the pharmaceutical industry. It's the rhinos that we're fighting against, and I think that we're facing the last kicking vestiges of these guys. And I don't think they're ready to go to war with this by turning off our electrical grid or doing anything like that. One is we have 50 different elections in 50 different states. So for this to be controlled from the top down, you're going to need, a nuclear war or something like that. Even if Harris or Biden declared a state of national emergency, I think our courts are now of the metal that they will stand up to the administration in ways they would not do in 2020 with the election challenges, but have been doing repeatedly against the abuses on our Constitution by the Biden administration. I'll just point to the fact that the student loan efforts to pay for student loans by the Biden administration has been whacked down by the Supreme Court 2 times now. So I'm very optimistic, and I don't hesitate. I hesitate to go into this sort of position, but I think it's a sort of a balance to what I've heard in the room. And am I wrong? Could I be wrong? Absolutely, I could be wrong. But I'd rather live in hope than in fear. And but that doesn't mean we don't get out and do everything we can to promote the election and our issues. Thanks for the mic.
Absolutely, brother. Great points. And send me that script, bro. I want to put that on my Substack, man. Those are some.
It's pinned to my. I didn't want to pimp my space, but it's pinned to the top of my feed. That's the discussion points for my Space Fridays. Be the first one I've posted in a year. So anyone wants to come by.
You haven't posted a space in a while. That's pretty good. Yeah, those are great points, bro. Like those were fantastic. I would love to post that and take credit as if I wrote it myself, which I will do. So yeah, great stuff. You guys go check out Doc's site and go read those things for yourself. Welcome Arias to the stage. Alpha Warrior coming to you, brother. Free Texas, you're coming up next. But my man Arias is on the microphone. What's up, brother?
What's up, Mike? What's up, Mike?
Making it happen, baby. Living that life,
living that dream.
Living it.
Listen, the downfall. There's been some renewed hope in my I guess my apocalyptic end. For whatever reason, Ivan has mentioned a couple things that I've heard a year ago. I even have it on recorded spaces from another individual who has said something similar. And they said that a lot of people were already arrested. A lot of people were already getting going through a military tribunal. Like that was already occurring, like behind the scenes. And certain people that got caught up, they had to kind of play this thing out because otherwise, like they're gonna go to jail regardless of the fact. So it's like the least that they could do is just be honorable and see their way out quietly, type of thing. But so I don't know how big the fight's gonna be. Supposedly talking about now this is something that we've been talking about like for a couple months already, that there's supposed to be like the grid shut, like the grid's gonna go down, and so but there's gonna be an EBS emergency broadcast system is gonna go online. It's telling everything that everybody who did the bad deeds is gonna be being posted into everybody, so everybody understands. And if that's true, we're talking about like a massive wake up call for like the whole nation, the whole world. I don't know I tend to go to that way because if that is true, then that would cause that would be the catalyst for whatever's going to happen in November to play out now. But if that doesn't happen and he does go to jail, it still wouldn't matter because if things are happening behind the scenes, he's gonna come out. Like, so, I don't know. That's where like I'm trying to really see this whole situation from that perspective. And I'm hoping for the best. I really am.
Well, I think that's a positive outlook. I know that we're going to be doing a space live when they announce the sentencing. It's going to be Gary versus Vinny live on XSpaces for $100. Everybody, come on out and get involved. It's going to be a hell of a space. If Dustin were to win that, maybe he could get in there, make a little money, and buy some more prey. So there's all kinds of options here. But yeah, you never know. We'll see what happens. Free Texas. The news of a free Texas. What's up, brother?
What's happening, Mike? Good to see you. Happen. Nice. Hey, great topic today. I think we're definitely in a downfall of sorts, but also at the same time, there's an arising and an awakening happening that I see. Others and myself. You could almost equate it almost to like a snake shedding their old skin. Like we're removing the veil of this old system. And hopefully exposing the core of what this creature of our country should be, And I agree with what JB said. We've definitely seen major failure from our legislative branch, and then like what Doc said about the uniparty. That's kind of a note I had from earlier. The shooter conversation can't happen because we have a uniparty in place. You get the odd person at a hearing now and then that brings up the SSRI topic. You get somebody on the news that brings it up and gets shut down. But for the most part, our legislative branch and our media are complicit in not focusing on the real root of this issue because of the clicks and the ratings and the attention they get from the argument over guns. And we can boil it back to this thing that one side is obviously very interested in controlling and one side is obviously very interested in protecting. And we get stuck there. And I think that's a pretty obvious thing, to most people. I think I am hopeful overall. Like Arias said, I'm getting more hopeful. I think awakening helps with that. I think as you stare into the abyss and traverse that dark valley, you've got to kind of, at least for me, I kind of had to do that and then start to realize like, what am I going to do about it and come out the other side? And when you're asking Brian, like, what would you do if X did not exist? And this is something I've talked about spaces in the past. And thank God for Elon Musk and what X is and hopefully can stay. But at the same time, I've been preaching we do need to seek alternatives. The best alternative that I know of right now that not many people know of is called Noster. And it's a distributed, decentralized communication protocol versus a network. Though a lot of the applications that are being built with it right now are social media focused. And I would encourage people to play with Noster. Probably the easiest way is go to primal.net and just go from there, or go to YouTube and look for some Noster explanation videos. But basically it's permissionless, decentralized communication protocol, much like TCP that runs the internet or SMTP that runs email.
Hold on a second. Now you're starting to nerd out on us there, brother.
Yeah. And let me just land here. And, I've been away from the spaces for a while because I've kind of been going through that dark valley that I was talking about and thinking like, what do I want to do with Free Texas News, and realize I want to focus on the solution. It's fun to post memes, and I'm still going to be a meme warrior, and I'm still going to shout from the rooftops all the ridiculous things I see, but also then hopefully bring, okay, so what do we do about it? Here's a solution. Here's Noster. Here's Bitcoin. Here's how you find the local regenerative farmer that can deliver raw milk, which has been my latest thing I've added into the rotation. And if you remember, for all the time I've been in spaces with y'all preaching about the beef initiative and KNC cattle, and didn't get my beef with Bitcoin from them for years. And great to be on the space with y'all and hear this conversation, and I'll land it there. Thanks.
Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, give Free Texas News a follow. Always love it when we're doing independent journalism, and especially down here in Tejas, baby, because that's where the action's at. Speaking of action, speaking of freedom, speaking of decentralized free speech networks, Rumble is the place, but Rumble would be nothing if it did not have the Alpha Warrior. Now, I'm no alpha male, and I'm certainly as hell no alpha warrior. My God, when you get one on stage, you gotta bring him up. Alpha, what's up, boy?
Much appreciated, man. Enjoying the conversation on a day where there's a lot of bad stuff that seems to be being put in front of us.
Alpha, hold on. Before you start, let me ask you a quick question. The downfall of the United States, if you had to pick one thing that you think about privately, what is free speech, whatever it is, what is it that you think this is the thing we've got to fix, or it's going to pretty much expedite our descent?
Actually, I weigh this in my mind quite often, and it's not a law and it's not a policy. It's the lack of true patriotism in Americans. We've gone to a point in this country where men are waiting for other men to fight their fight. And as everybody continues to wait, everything, our freedoms and liberties keep getting stripped from us more and more and more. And it doesn't matter what laws and policies pass. It doesn't matter what politicians we have. If we can't get just the fundamentals of being a basic patriot back in our bloodstream, then nothing changes. It's that whole nothing changes if nothing changes, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. But, do you think that we're not fighting those fights because you think it's because we're tired? Do you think it's because we're lazy? Do you think it's because we're kind of like being the freaking fat people in WALL-E? Or we're just kind of wanting everything done for us? That basically, it's not that I don't want to fight for your freedom. It's just I don't want to fight for anything.
A little bit of all that, Mike. It's just in different groups. And since it's a little bit of all that in these different groups, it adds up to a big mess. You have people that it's, I guess, selfishness is a way to kind of describe it. It's like, and if I go to that protest, I may end up on a list. If I go and I post this, I may up on a list. If I do this, I may have the FBI knocking at my door. If I go to my kid's school, this might happen, or I might lose my company, or I might get canceled, or my family might ostracize me. Like, people are looking at their individual potential loss. And I think what people need to recognize is that if this government, the establishment, if they get what they want, it's not like any of us are going to keep anything we have anyways. That's not part of the ultimate goal here. They want what's worse than socialism. And that's why everybody needs to do something. We all have different skill sets, and people need to start utilizing those skill sets, whether it's running for office, whether it's running for school districts, whether it's organizing, a protest, whether it's civil disobedience that's peaceful. People need to start exhausting all the remedies that our forefathers laid in front of us. Because if you don't, then the options start to become limited and the consequences start to become more consequential in the end. Like, at some point, you're going to find yourself in a corner. And right now, since we're not at, it seems bad, but trust me, it can get a lot worse. And since we're not at that point yet, then why not start trying to move the cursor in the other direction?
No, those are great points. Let me ask you one quick question, Alpha, before I'm going to go to Dustin right now. But I wanted to say this. So I'm reading McCullough's book on John Adams right now. It's a freaking big one, but it's fascinating. I'm just all of a sudden become more fascinated with our founding fathers than ever before. Like the things that they went through, and one person said, I was listening to something and they were talking about what they were going through back at the time. But, if you went overseas, communication was the same speed as distance. Communication and distance were the same thing. Now they're not the same thing. Communication, can just basically supersede distance at a millionth of a percent, but over there you could not get communication to someone across the sea until you traveled across the sea. And so these, John Adams and these people, they were away from their wives for long periods of time, and they would go months, and we forget about, their wives and how much they handled everything. And I'm thinking to myself, when John Adams and these people, when they signed, like when these people signed the Declaration of Independence, they all thought they were going to die, right? They all, because their names were written on a document that was telling their suppressors we are opposed to you and we're going to try to overthrow you. And we don't want to be a part of you. And like the courage and the guts that those men had back then, it's like I'm literally trying to wrap my mind around it now, and I cannot. Like I can't find any examples. I can't find any people that I look to that, like, I don't see that anywhere, and I'm trying to just wrap my mind around it. I'm like, do you see that in today's society? Like, do we go back to that? Do we need to go back to that? Like, is there any semblance of those kind of men or leaders out there?
There is, Mike, and women as well. The problem is we don't control the pathways to that information. So when you have these men and women that are doing it, they're censored, they're deplatformed, they're arrested, they're investigated, they're pulled out of the fight in some form or fashion. So we don't get to see that. And the ones that are able to survive the censorship somehow, there's still some element of censorship that's there, you know. So, but that's why, you know, that old saying, you know, a little bit from a lot of people has a big impact as well. And that's why audiences that are listening need to understand that when we talk information war, there's two parts to that. There's the content creator, you know, quote unquote influencer that's presenting information. But then the audience, now you're no longer just an audience. This is where you get into, you know, whether it's General Flynn's digital soldiers, it's now incumbent upon you to take that information and spread it in every possible way that you can. Emails, texts, personal conversations, co-workers, people in your church, people in your family. Like, that's how you can overcome censorship, because, you know, censorship is still limited in some of the aspects that it has. But the reason I originally raised my hand, and I forget which gentleman was speaking on it, I hate the black pill conversation, but a lot of times you got to hear the black pill scenarios in order to be prepared for it. Because the one thing that I've seen in my career paths is the things that get people hurt is when they're overtaken by shock. And people typically are taken by shock because something's unfolding in front of them that they weren't prepared for. So when you look at the last 3.5, approaching 4 years right now of Trump being a quote unquote civilian, there's a lot of precedence that's been set at his expense. And for those, you know, my tinfoil hat peeps, you know, that want to believe that, you know, there's clandestine operations and stuff taking place. If you want to see former presidents that created or did crimes arrested, there needs to be a precedence for it. Because if Trump was the first one to do it, then all the rumors of him being the dictator and everything that they say anyways start to have more realistic attributes to them. But in this case, look, they came after him. They came after his family. They've charged him. They've indicted him. You know, they're trying to take away his liquor license. But if Trump gets arrested if he gets sentenced and actually placed in custody, whether it's a short period of time, like a few hours, or whether it's an extended period of time, or whether it's even house arrest, that now creates the precedents for people like the Bush family and the Obama family and the Biden family. It exists. And so I don't want to see that happen, but I'm prepared for that scenario and thought process that if it does, there's probably a reason for it. And Trump is not a dumb man. I'm not, you know, extremely confident in a lot of people he surrounds himself with. But if you look at how he's been able to, I mean, they've tried to kill the dude and he's still breathing. He's still fighting. So I'll make the educated assumption and land here, Mike, that he's probably privy to a lot of stuff that we don't know. And this is that's probably one aspect of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Dustin, I'm gonna go to you real quick, brother. You know, I think about the stuff that you and Jen have talked about, and I have to say, you know, just being honest, you know, I don't know if I have, you know, I don't know if I have the wherewithal to go through the stuff that y'all been through. You know, I don't know if, you know, if I knew what I was going to go through was what y'all went through. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and I'm hoping in every part of my body that I would be willing to do all those things. But the fear, there is the fear there of committing to the point that there's no coming back from. Does that make sense? I mean, I know it's
actually a perfect segue. So we asked Alpha
Like, what's the one thing? It's that we gave up so much in order for convenience and comfort. So that the things that we used to directly control in our own lives, we've happily given away to interests that we don't really understand. And that's whether it's our food, our water, our educating our children. It's probably the biggest one. Right? We accepted this idea that we should let the system that we all fucking hate primarily raise our children. And we were happy to do it because it provided us convenience. Day without having to like spend it like watching the kids and doing other stuff. And the brutality of it, that's the actual stuff that like actually brings joy and happiness. And so the for me, when I look at it, I think that we gave up all these things because it seemed convenient, but we didn't really understand what we were giving up. And the second, third, fourth, fifth order effects of giving it up. And so to your question, Mike, there is no doubt you would have gotten through it. Because we respond to what we have to like, the challenges that we are faced with. And the fear is really a product of being afraid of having this life that you've built and constructed torn down around you, right? The life of convenience that I just talked about. But the truth of the matter is, I'm actually grateful to look back. I wasn't grateful going through it, but what I've realized now is that it was necessary in order to change my outlook on life, my outlook on things, to build a better relationship with my kids. That kind of adversity, while it might seem terrifying to have the comfort life that you've built for yourself, the routine, right? All of it taken away from you or torn down. It's a terrifying concept, but that's how they keep us in the box. That's how they keep us continuing to watch their channels, listen to their propaganda, and to send our kids to their schools. And it's only until you have that taken away and those illusions of comfort broken around you that you're able to like take a hard, realistic look and say, oh shit, I was giving up the real good shit in order for some fake good shit. And once you get that realization, it's much easier to like put your head down and drive forward. And the mission usually, like for us, became much clearer that driving people to like just be good Republicans, that was dipshittery. Literally dipshittery. That's how you end up with Speaker Mike Hunt. And right, like again, let's just not be transphobes in here. He has no Johnson. And I think we all need to respect that. Okay? So he's Speaker Hunt from forever.
I don't understand how I laugh out loud at that every time. Like I literally every time I just laugh out loud at that. It's almost weird how that works.
At Big Mike?
Glad to be of service. So
no, Mike.
But the point is this: you would be amazed at how much you don't need all of those creature comforts. At how much, like, your idea of what happiness and comfort is, and quality of life, is not as tied to the things that you think it is nearly as much as you think it is. And sometimes having that stuff taken away and simplifying your life down actually leads you to a much stronger, better, happier, and productive version of yourself. So my answer would be, like, do not be convinced that all the things that they have convinced us that we think we need to have
in order to live happy and productive lives are even necessary or helpful in any way. And my favorite example, I actually love teaching my kids, man. The idea to me that I wasn't spending as much time as I should have been, like educating my own family, is something that, like, looking back on now, that was something that, like, I would have been afraid of, like, oh my God, what, homeschooling, preparing curriculums to that, oh, it's so overwhelming and big, and right. And now I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck kind of nonsense was I thinking? Like, wow, what better way could I be spending my time? And I think that happens a lot when you have to face those kinds of like trials and tribulations. And I think that we would be dramatically healthier if we all did the things. And when Free Texas came up, right, what jumps out at me, again, take back control of the things that they leverage you with in order to make you make decisions that are against your own self-interest. Where does your food come from? Where does your water come from? Do you know first aid? The more of that stuff that you take into your own possession and control, the harder you become to leverage. And the harder you become to be ruled by people who are less than you. So I think, again, so much of it comes down to convenience or the illusion of convenience.
So I'm going to go to this and that with Zach, with this and that with Josh and Zach. Just one second. But first, I got to go to my girl, Jessica. So Jess, after what Dustin just said, right, you knew that you had to be segued right after what he just said, because, and Des, you know, she's coming up, you know, she's got to be, you know what we got to do, right? Jess is going to be, with Destiny and I are going to be interviewing Jess. We're setting up some things right now, and it's coming, but I just wanted to talk to Jess. So Jess, you have gone through exactly what Dustin's talking about, right? Some voluntarily to some degree, and then some other things you've been through recently, right? So real quick, tell us a little bit how you got into the situation that you're in. Like, because I've been reading about your air conditioner. I've been reading about you towing your stuff down there to South Texas, and it's just freaking captivating, right? It is like, I see these pictures of you saying, yeah, if I could, I've just got to stick this vent up from underneath, you know, and I'm like, good Lord, she makes me feel less like a man every freaking time I watch one of her videos. So it's incredible. But tell us a little bit about your situation and how it goes to what Dustin was just talking about.
Thanks so much for the mic and the space. Yeah, Dustin was really preaching there. I didn't hear all of it. My internet has kind of been cutting in and out. But to Dustin's point, the creature comforts that we have been convinced we need, like a big house, you know, it's the whole thing that we were sold. You know, you go to school, you go to college, you get a big job that pays big salary, no debt, blah, blah, blah. And then you get married, have children, they grow up, you know, go off and they're functional humans in the society. And then, you retire, are able to retire, and then you live out your final years with your spouse, assuming you're still married, right? Happily, la, 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 rainbows and unicorns. And then eventually you pass, and you hope to leave a legacy for any children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren, right? Once you get to a point that, like Dustin was saying, that it's just an illusion. Once you realize that, and kind of just, you take a step back, and I've gotten to that place just really in the past couple of years, but just kind of uncovering a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing, having relocated temporarily to a farm in the Midwest Great Plains area, where you see everything that's going on. Like, you can't hide what's going on in the skies around you. You see it all. It really, yeah. Okay, I'm not answering your question, but
no, you are answering the question. You have literally taken everything that you just said, the comfort, these creature comforts that you have, and you have decided to live your life without those. Now, I can tell you this, 99% of the people in this space right now, no matter who they are, no alpha warriors, males, nobody can do nobody would do what you've just done. Like, that is a very difficult thing to do. Dustin and Jen might do it. I mean, you never know. I mean, Dustin might freaking be driving down in an old used freaking Civic. But that's a different story for another day. Like, that is very difficult to do what you do. And it doesn't, and I know it probably gets emotional for you to do that. So what I'd like to know though is going through what you go through, right? Living the way that you live, basically at a minimum level like that, which a lot of us probably yearn for in some way. What do you see from your perspective? Because you're not in the house, you're not doing with all the things you talk about, you're not dealing with those. What do you see as the downfall of the United States? What affects you directly as being one of the downfalls?
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that question. I do see, I mean, directly, for example, I'm not sure if people are aware of it. The term is, I guess the official term is called geoengineering. And I have done a deep dive on geoengineering after just kind of witnessing some differences in weather patterns. I've been a weather nerd since I was, since I could walk. And just seeing some differences happening that just seemed a little peculiar. Sorry, I'm a little tired. But the thing that directly affects me is I live in an RV. It's supposed to be about 5,100 pounds empty, maybe 7,000 pounds full. I've ripped everything out, right? And just made it my own. But I don't have insulation in my walls. I don't have, I have a tiny air filter that says it's HEPA rated. Doesn't mean that it's actually, it's not an adequate, it's not like a house filtration system. So I basically think of it as I live in a glorified tent that just happens to have some, a rectangle shape to it. So everything, like there's holes, there's like the outside air is coming directly in, and I'm breathing, I'm basically living outdoors. But I have a roof that doesn't leak yet. And so I'm directly impacted by the weather and the air quality and those kinds of things. So, for example, you're in Houston, right? Or in Texas.
Yeah.
When the derecho, or however you say it, the derecho that hit in the middle of the night, that freak wind thing that happened here where I am just last week or 2 weeks ago. I mean, 80-mile-per-hour winds. My trailer, I thought it was going to flip over. I wasn't sure, or rip apart. After doing some serious deep dives just this past week and learning more about geoengineering, I've learned why I'm seeing what I'm seeing. The weather patterns are changing. Things are strategically, I could go down a whole rabbit hole there, but I'm directly impacted by those things. Things that when the wind blows, my trailer moves. If you're in a house, I can't wait until the day where I'm in a house again, or ever, like a house that's, when wind blows, 80-mile-per-hour winds, I don't have to worry about my life thing. But with that said, I feel that people would it. People would do what I'm doing out of just simple necessity. And I am where I am based upon just a series of, various decisions that I've made in life. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Do I want to be in this
Hey, you're rubber
place
banding
where-
pretty bad.
No.
We're losing her. She's
Okay.
breaking up. She's breaking it. We're losing her.
It's the damn wind.
It's the freaking wind. Damn, it's the
That's
the downfall of this space is Jessica's freaking connection. Jess, hang in there. We're going to come back to you, okay? See, that's the beauty. That comes with her.
Mike,
Yes, Jen, go ahead. We're losing her. She's breaking up. And we lost her. Dustin, she has to press.
Jen will be right back. She can't unmute.
Tell her she has to press the mic button and then no, don't
We'll
tell
get
her
her
I
back
said
up.
that.
We'll get her back up.
Don't tell her I said
No,
that.
we'll get her back up. Come on. HBO, I haven't seen you in here in a long time talking in spaces. Why don't you go ahead and we'll wait till we get Jen back up here.
Hey,
Well,
thanks.
skip this and that with Josh and Zach. That was next. Wow.
Thanks, guys. Great space today. One of the comments I want to make, I think free speech is number one. Okay, the Second Amendment is number two, but free speech is number one. If they accomplish getting free speech taken away, we lose the whole country because you can't come together if you can't communicate. Right before they purged Twitter, I think it was 3.5 years ago, I went purged with all the other group. We were coming together. Patriots were connecting on spaces at crazy numbers. I got 5,000 followers in a month. I got 10,000 followers over on True Social. And then all of a sudden they nuked everybody and then started with the algorithm. And I think this is an opportunity right now to come together again. Got 5,000 followers in a month. I got 10,000 followers over on True Social. And then all of a sudden they nuked everybody and then started with the algorithm. And I think this is an opportunity right now to come together again because we do have some free speech here and it seems like we're able to connect again. I think we need to feverishly connect, anticipating some sort of disruption. But I 100% believe that Trump is going to get arrested. I think he has to. I don't know if most people know this, that 98%, I think it's 95 or 98% of federal cases get won by the federal government. 1% win with remedy. So it's a rigged system, and nothing has shown this more than Trump's legal battles over the last year and a half, 2 years. And I think to top this off for a complete wake up, they have to arrest him. He has to get put behind bars. I don't think he stays behind there too long, but I think it has to happen because that shock should shake everybody, the rest of the people up from their slumber. So, I think that's what's going to happen, but I could be totally on crack. Who knows? But I do think that we really need to come together. I love your spaces. I love, getting out here, and I think we need to connect. I think the small accounts, I must be shadow banned. I haven't been able to get over 2,000 followers in a whole year. So I think the small accounts need to connect, and then the big accounts need to help that happen. So I'll land the plane there, but great discussion. Look forward to listening to more.
I can't believe you don't have more followers than that, HPO. You're so awesome. Like, you invented an awesome tool that's going to really save people's lives, and you're just really down to earth, and that just surprises me. But then again, as somebody shadow banned myself, I do understand the shadow banning potential out there. It is pretty bad. I'm sick of it. I'm like, Elon, if you want to get in my good graces, well, you need to do a lot. But on top of that list, they got to get rid of this shadow banning algorithm bull crap because, it's punishment for what? I didn't commit a crime. This is ridiculous.
You might have committed a crime.
I did commit a crime. I'm sorry.
Well, it's
Don't
him not
talk-
wanting to shut down the platform, right? Because to get all the ghosts out of the machine, he would actually have to shut it down for a little bit. And now would be a horrible time to do it. So that I give him that grace, but no, you're totally right. That crap needs to stop immediately.
Absolutely. This and that with Josh and Zach. Appreciate you hanging in there, brother. How are you?
Thanks, man. I appreciate you giving me the privilege to speak. I have endless patience. Most of the time I join spaces, it's usually because of those that I follow that are in there as well as the title. And
Well, your mic sounds incredible, bro. So I just want to say
Electro Voice RE20. But that's irrelevant. So I've heard a lot of people talk. It's unfortunate. I can't remember her name that was talking about how she lived in an RV.
Yeah, that was Jessica.
The fact that she lives in an RV is not unfortunate. That is awesome. Because of the fact that you can travel, you're pretty much unbounded. But I want to kind of lead more into like the corruption and just the fact that there are a lot of things that are affecting our judgment that I don't think we're really aware of. Now, it's been touched on by several people already on the space. And a lot of that's like your food, your water, the air. Alpha even touched on the lack of patriotism. That's a big thing too. I don't think a lot of people know about the Constitution. And I think that that's the most important part. I heard a lot of people touch on the Founding Fathers. A lot of people don't even know that some of those people were in their like younger 20s. Now,
Hamilton was 18.
Yeah, dude. James Madison was 25, dude, and Hamilton was 21. So, like, what were you doing at 21 and 25? I sure as heck wasn't writing a document trying to form another country. So, all I wanted to say is how it was back then is way different than how it is now. And we have sacrificed a lot of our freedoms for convenience. And that includes smartphones. That includes the internet. A lot of people don't even understand that they had the ARPANET before the internet and they still have the ARPANET. Like, come on, guys. It's called the dark web. Okay, it's 92% of the internet. What we think is the internet is only 8%. So just wrap your head around that. That's one. Okay. And then all the diversity, all the division, all the little tiny arguments that we bicker and banter to each other about. You have to ask yourself, is it really worth the emotion, the heightened cortisol? You know, if you don't know what cortisol is, it's your stress hormone. The more of it you have in your body, the more chances you are to get cancer. You can look that stuff up, and it's factual. Okay. And a lot of us are stressed out, especially those that fall for the mass media. That's huge. Stop it. Turn your TV off. In fact, if you can, get rid of it if you don't need it. But that's just me. I'm not telling you to be Tucker Carlson. I'm just saying, you know. But there's so many things. Like, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on. And there's a lot of people in here that already know a lot about these things. But you have to also realize that a lot of these things have been implemented into our society for decades. And these people don't give you anything to the public unless they have control of it behind the curtain. That's just factual. The government is large. They've expanded over time since 1776 exponentially, okay? But they've done that through coercion, perversion, okay? And just straight deceit, evil, okay? And I'm going to land my plane because there's just, again, Mike, there's just so much we could talk about, man, like hours and hours and hours. And we'll give some other people some chances to talk. I'll bounce back in for sure.
Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, no, great points. And yeah, you're right. There are a lot of things that are leading to the downfall of the United States. And which ones are they? And how do we fix those things? And, you know, I don't want to bring up anybody in the room, Cardone, but sometimes you got to show up with a solution, not just a problem, you know? So, and that's, like, I'm not simping for Cardone, but he does say a couple things that make a lot of sense every now and then. You know what I'm saying? A little bit. Not much, but a little bit. A little bit. Robbie, my man. My man. Robbie is in the house.
Yo, what up, though? What's good, Mike?
You know it, baby. Just been waiting for you all day.
Oh, man. Stop playing, fam. Nah, man. No, for sure. I know that's true words, man. You my bro for sure. And I hope everybody on the panel doing well. Before I head in this valley, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get kicked. So I'll be real quick. All I just wanted to say was always have hope, right? Never despair, never become despondent. But those words are easier said than done. I know. It's not easy to not be anxious. It's not easy to not be uncomfortable and uncertain about the future. But yeah, we really have to challenge ourselves to live in the present moment and just take it one little step at a time. Because when you're living in days like this, you take too much of it in, man, you're going to derail, you're going to crash out, and you're not going to be able to make it. Because you're going to inundate yourself with so much information, usually most of it negative, because that's just how we are. We tend to go to the negative because it does something to us, right? It points out that we don't have control. And that's where I want to kind of get to real quick is that, see, the biggest Achilles heel for the United States, in my opinion, is the fact that they tried to form a nation just based on ideals, right? And kind of ignoring where people come from. But where people come from is very important, right? Because that's how they're shaped. That's how wills are shaped. That's how the intellect is formed based on where people come from. So you can't just continue to bring people in illegally or legally from all over the freaking world and expect that you're going to maintain a country. You're not. You're just going to have a territory with a bunch of people that come from all across the world, okay? So, newsflash, yeah, they are going to have a new world order. It is coming. It's going to happen, hands down, right? So, now that we know what's going to happen, then what are we going to do about it, right? So, we're going to have to augment the way that we live our lives, right? How we see things. And I know Alpha said a great deal to that, as well as some other speakers. So, that's what I'm saying, right? It has to be, a nation has to also be formed with religion and culture, along with the ideals. You have to have all three of those go together. But most of us now are Americans who kind of exist in our own little, factions or tribes or whatnot and think we got a country. We always going to have this divide. So that's where this republic kind of falls short. And I don't know how to fix that, right? I mean, because that's kind of baked into what this country is supposed to be. But the founding fathers could never foresee what we living in today, right? As the current America. So either this country has to have a big ass reset, right? Like the old Nintendo button, right? You hit the reset, or we're probably going to have to break off and form, other separate, nations or something like that, where people kind of have the same ideology. But I don't see us going forward in the current state that we're in right now. I just don't see how we're going to, fix what we got going on right now without a major overhaul of our judicial system, because our judicial system is a subjective judicial system. It's not objective. It's designed to be objective, but how can it be objective when you have all these different people interpreting what's supposed to be the objective supreme law of the land, right? Or the law of the particular states. You have individuals interpreting it for themselves. So you bound to get this crazy shit that we got going on right now, right? With these runaway judges just throwing whatever, giving whatever ruling that they feel fit, even if it goes against the law, right? So that has to be fixed as well. And I'll land there. Thanks for letting me speak.
That's the man. Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, no, I agree. I've always had an issue kind of with, and I'd like to get somebody's feedback on this. Maybe it's not politically correct to say, but multiculturalism, that is a tricky subject, man.
It is? I am multiculturalism. What are you talking about? It's a wonderful conversation.
I was going to use you as an example. I'm glad you stepped in. I mean,
Mike, for that. May I respond to what the?
Yeah, sure. Jump in there.
I was not alive during the 60s. Okay, but I've read a lot about it. And a lot of the things that were going on in the 60s hasn't happened since the 60s. Okay. And I'm talking about the four people that almost everybody in this space should be thinking about that were all, offed. Okay. And I'll name them for you. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., RFK, and JFK. And you have to realize to yourself what all those four people were doing at that time and why they were taken out. Okay. And then once that happened, we haven't had that much patriotism since. So when people want to think, what can we do? What do you think would happen if over 1 million people showed up in Washington, D.C.? Just decided to take a week off of work. Just imagine. It's going to be just like the crowds you saw back then. And it's going to scare the shit out of them. Because I don't think they understand that we, the people, and I say that with all bold.
So, with all due respect, do you know how many people were in DC 3 separate times following the election in 2020? And what happened to those people?
Tell me.
Well, so in November, we brought about 750,000. In December, it was about 500,000. And in January, it was about 1.1 million. There is a whole bunch of January 6ers who are sitting in a gulag in horrid conditions, getting their constitutional rights trampled on because we have a illegitimate government in charge who's trying to keep their power. So I understand it happened in the 60s, but it is also happening today.
Well,
and there are people suffering.
It has to be more than that. It can't be just 1 million. There's over 300 million.
Do you
people in the
understand what
country.
it takes to bring 1 million people to one place?
A lot. It does. I know it. I know it's a.
Do you understand the logistics of all of that?
I do.
Have you ever done it?
Have
you ever brought a large grouping of people together in one place?
Well, no, Jen. It's an idea.
Okay.
I'm not like
The point Jen's making is that it was enough and it did scare the shit out of them. And so they went as crazy as the whole January 6th plot. The agent provocateurs and the media coverage and the crackdowns and the rest of it.
I do understand all that.
Right. But I think this is where the friction is, which is we've done it and scared them, and they recognized it because the plan was to continue to come back every month until shit was resolved, right? Because at some level, getting 1 billion people to take the same week off, less realistic than just showing up over and over and over again. But they knew that it was getting bigger and more passionate and more effective each time. And so they will ramp up the disruption efforts as a result. And so much that is playing out is a result of them taking away, that the fear that people have now to speak out or participate in anything.
Yeah.
Lens that the operation was for the enemy was a resounding success.
But I don't.
It is
don't
damn near
think-
possible to get 20,000 people.
I
to do
don't.
anything
Yeah,
now.
but a lot of it is fear and uncertainty. But you have to think of it with the way technology is going. And I mean, people should know where technology is going. I don't think a lot of the people know what is at stake. And if
What's the difference between getting 20,000 people in a space, which we've done, and getting 20,000 people together in person, where we have to risk having professional agitators and infiltrators come into the crowd, cause a disruptance where the media then creates a narrative. Yeah.
That's the steel man, because you know that the intelligence agencies already know that we're thinking about this. So they're going to plant these false flags, so to speak, if you want to tell them that.
They already have.
I know.
They
and
already
that's what happened on
have.
January 6th. I know, but that's the one thing.
No,
I can't get around is that-
on January 6th. How many examples do you need?
Okay,
Well,
we're gonna sincerely move on from this a little bit, you guys, just because we got so many hands and we got 13 now requests to come up. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to shuffle past it, guys. No offense, but we can handle it later. Honey Badger, I see you up here. What's up, hon? Haven't seen you in a minute. Can you hear me? Honey Badger.
New
there she
glitch,
is.
new glitch. Hey guys.
Okay.
Actually, I'm really sorry. I actually have a space at 5, so I'm glad you called on me because I was about to have to jump. But thank you so much for bringing me up. And I was loving listening to our lovely Jessica be interviewed. And I'm sure you're trying to get back to that interview. She is just an amazing person. And I mean, she is so inspiring to me in so many ways. She's as humble as she is smart, as she is just tenacious. And so I can't say enough good about Jessica. And I'm glad I got late right before I came in because I was actually coming up to highly recommend the new novel by Alpha Warrior. I think the working title is People You Meet in Spaces. It's an unabridged masterpiece, and I personally am working on the screenplay as I speak, using his characters as my prototypes. Yeah, let me know if you need PR, and I certainly do hope you have a publisher of Alpha. So thank you guys for letting me speak. Just wanted to say hi. God bless y'all, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll drop. Thanks.
I'm looking at it right now, Honey Badger. I would love to discuss dialogue between characters at some point. I'm still trying to figure out what my character is.
The back and forth guy.
So we'll talk. We'll talk. You know, we'll do lunch and maybe we'll get Alpha.
You're the gay character, Mike. It's okay.
Closet.
Team 111, don't make me block you, motherfuckers.
I was leaning in that direction, you know, just because I didn't want Vinny to steal that character. So that's the.
But no, you'd have to be fake. You'd have to be fake, and you know, in order to be Vinny, you have to remember that.
That's what I'm talking about, sweetie. Just go ahead and go to your little space right now and just let us finish what we were doing in here, and you could just go. Okay, thanks, Honey Badger. Somebody knock her off the stage.
Mike, eat a Snickers.
Yeah, she called me fake and gay, and you missed it somehow.
Fake
No,
and
I
gay.
didn't. I just think it all the time. I mean, when somebody calls you fake and gay, it's like every
Thanks
other
to
day.
Vinny, that's like my new favorite everything. Like it's so fetch for me. Like anytime something's just the slightest bit off, like a fly, like
so fetch.
Like a fly buzzes near me, I'm outside and I'm like bothered. I'm like, oh God, fake and gay, get away! Like every time, and it's all Vinny's fault because now everything is fake and gay.
No, you missed Jen's comment. And I thought the exact same thing. Jen, did Destiny just try to drop some new word on us?
Like you haven't
that is
seen
so
Mean
fetch.
Girls. I bet you have it in your
She's
house.
trying to be a valley girl. Valley girl.
I can do the
Gag me with a spoon.
first half, Mike. You're a valley girl.
Totally,
Like,
for sure.
Like so lame.
I just got my manicure this side. I swear, it's bleaching out my hair.
Out my gorgeous hair. 22, 34. I don't even know the score.
3 to 44. I don't even know the score.
Oh my God.
No,
What the hell is happening here?
I was legit a cheerleader. I was legit a cheerleader
I was
for
too.
1 day.
Oh no, I was for a couple of years.
And I quit.
I love
you were a male
cheerleading. I broke
cheerleader,
my
right?
kneecap. Ooh, there's lots of male cheerleaders.
See-
Okay, like they're cool people.
And they're fake.
Not George Bush though.
There are not a lot.
They're definitely the
male
definition of
cheerleaders. Okay, there's not a lot.
I've known a few. I'm saying I've known quite a few.
Well, maybe, but there's not a lot. I mean, Mike would qualify, but there's not a lot of Mikes out there.
That's just because I could do the splits, Gary. You know this.
I mean, look, it's clear to me that you're just a full-on homo, bro. That's just has not come out of the closet. So
Hey, if anybody,
bring it fast.
stop thinking about me as a
Is that
homosexual,
why he
Gary.
picks out my
I told
clothes
you about
every
that.
day? Like he's always spot on.
Stop thinking about my body. I'm tired of it.
wow. This is some gay.
You
shit
can't
going
stop
on
me.
here.
Yeah, this is fake and gay, you guys. We gotta really.
Vinny's a
push on
cheerleader.
this.
See, you hear the guy down there? Hey, you can't stop me. See, he knows his rights, Mike.
Yeah, I hear the guy. You see the guy down there? Hey-oh, who's that? Hey, Vinny, how you doing?
Jessica, your hands up.
I would let Mike put sunblock on the areas I couldn't reach.
Ew, I didn't need to hear that.
Talk to me, Alpha. Talk to me, baby. You know
Guys
what's
are
up.
bottoms.
Big time.
It's better than that freaking
Hey,
Valley Girl
it's-
crap that you and
All y'all are
Destiny just
bastards.
did back and forth.
No,
It's always the Bible thumpers, guys. It's always the Bible thumpers.
something.
Oh, is that a slight, Gary?
Says the Louisiana kid. Hey, grab that freaking banjo, brother.
That's terrible. Don't ever do that again, Mike.
You
You
shut
shut
up.
up first. That's what I thought. Good.
I think we've officially derailed.
Okay, I'm going to bring us back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Check. Awesome. Thank you, Destiny, so much. Okay, I'm just going to drop something. I'm not sure if people are talking about this,
But there is a document that has been discovered recently, and please, if you've already discussed it or if people know about this, give me a thumbs up. It was created by NASA in 2001. It's called the Future Warfare Circa 2025. Okay, so have you had the chance to read all the way through it?
We did a space on it. Maze and Alpha, me, we were there. I think a few others maybe.
Okay, cool.
Not in this space though, but it was Maze's space.
Okay, Maze's space. Was it recent?
Within a month, maybe, Alpha? Does that sound about right? Within a month?
Yeah, I would say a month and a half. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back and listen to it, but I just, recently, I'm out of the loop, but I just recently read through it. I'm still reading through it, learning a lot from it. But I'm not sure people are, I know based on that space, people who are in there are aware of it, but I feel like it's a much bigger deal than people may understand.
It's a huge deal.
What is it? You guys?
Do you want to discuss? Okay, yeah. Let's just talk about what it is real quick. So this document, it's an official NASA document that came around, I think 2000, 2001, talking about essentially like we have, like sustainable goals 2030. Well, this was like NASA's like warfare thing for 2025, and in it includes a lot of advanced technology that they plan on using, including things like smart dust, weather modification. It's pretty scary. It's very Orwellian, and it got released, and then somebody leaked it years ago, and they haven't tried talking about it since. Like they kind of ignore it, but it's a real document. I can get the document and put it up in the purple plug if you want.
Yeah, if you could. I have a link to it. I just can't find the official one from NASA right now. But a lot of the things that are in it have already happened, which is what's the craziest part, I think. But talking about the weather modification, that goes to the geoengineering. That's the proper term because people, hear chemtrails or weather modification and they freak out. So geoengineering, cloud seeding, that stuff, geoengineering. But the smart dust is what the particulates, the nanoparticles that are less than, I forget what the size is, but the smart dust, they can activate it.
6 inches.
I'm sorry? Did you say 6 inches? Okay, you're joking. 2.5 microns or something like that. But I just ask everybody, and I don't want to scare people, but if you are at least in the United States, I can't speak to other places because I follow weather. I'm a storm chaser. I look at radar all the time. There's particulates floating over major metropolises across the United States, some more than others. But if you go outside at night and shine your phone light up in the air and just stand there and just watch, just look up, just let me know what you're seeing. I would love if people tried that.
Yeah, there's another thing that like you could do if you wanted to get really technical with testing out your environmental toxins. I did this before just because I was like, I'm curious. You buy all sorts of like water testing strips that will test a variety of different chemicals. And what you could do is put out some like sterile cups, like some, like what do you call those things? Solo cups outside if it's going to rain that night, and acquire some rain and just test and see what's coming down in your water. You can pay for something more expensive that's going to give you more results and probably be more accurate. But if you just want to do that for fun at home, you can definitely like get on the idea, especially if you live close to like airports and, military installations. These places have the higher amounts of these PFAs, PFOAs, and all sorts of other things, aluminum salts and barium salts that they're seeding clouds with. And people think that by the way, I did put it in the bubble above. There's a video that a woman, I forget her name, but she was the one who broke the story, I think, on this futures document from NASA. She reads through it, the key points in it in that video I put up in the bubble above. So if anyone wants to get a look. And I think in that video, if you scroll down in the comments, I do believe the document is in there. So if not, let me know. I do have a copy of it. And go ahead.
Is this the thing that I think it is, where the only thing I've ever seen of this is back, I I don't know, during like the queue times, I remember being put on to, is this the thing that got leaked onto social media and then that German scientist did like a PowerPoint on to show smart dust, and then he was showing how like literally this dust can like get together and then it starts creating these like beings. It like seeks itself and it's like almost a lot. It's super creepy when you get it.
I don't know about all that, but I mean, the smart dust thing is super creepy, and it's, you know, James Giordano of DARPA talks a lot about it. Interesting. I was just talking about Giordano yesterday. I'm not sure if those are the same videos, Benny. I'm sorry. I wish I could. Maybe Jessica knows because she threw her hand right up. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah. Well, I threw it up when you were talking about the collection in solo cups or testing the rainwater. I actually, it collects on my car, right? I have my car parked right outside of my trailer. And like I said, I'm on a farm, so I see everything. Destiny, I just sent you a video that I filmed yesterday. This is something that I see daily basis, multiple times per day. I don't, for some reason, have access to the purple pills, so I just sent it to you if you're willing.
It's not your fault. None of us have it. We're all having to kind of resort to the bubble. That's all the nest. That's all we got right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you. I collect it on my car, right? So I know I have all these videos filmed of this, you know, the stuff that's the particulates and all this stuff that's coming down, and you're starting to see it on the horizon. It's there's a documentary called The Dimming. I would recommend people have a look at if you're interested.
Geoengineeringwatch.org. Isn't that the geoengineeringwatch.org?
Yes,
That
yes.
guy is obsessed. You cannot find like more than that guy can find.
Exactly. And that's kind of finally I've found some validation, but I collected on my car, and there are different kinds of particulates that are in the air, that are landing on the car, right? There are plastics. There are some plastics. There are a lot of plastics, actually. It's very interesting, whatever they're dropping. But there are metals, and they're magnetic. And I know this because I've taken a magnet to them. I was drawing a heart on my car the other night because as it's coming down, it lands on the car, and it's kind of, at night, it looks yellow. I don't know what color it is exactly, so people probably just mistake it as pollen. But I did a heart, right? And I have this all on video. And then I looked at my finger, and it's shiny. You know, there are little particulates that are shiny. I'm always wearing a headlamp, especially at night. And they're shiny. And I was like, what? That's interesting. And then I took a magnet to them, and they transferred to the magnet. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh. And this is something like every single night I go out and I take a photograph of the sky in every direction, because what's happening is, to the best of my knowledge, and shout out to the people in the anonymous section down there that are listening right now, as I say this out loud, what's happening is they're creating a layer, or enough layers, it's tiered layers above us, so that they can block out what's going on above that in order to create whatever weather they want, and kind of come at us in a way that we aren't aware of what's coming. I call it silent thunder. It's a weird thing I just one day spewed out. But these storms, they'll come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden it'll be blowing 80-mile-an-hour winds. This is all happening it's happening now, and it needs to be stopped. RFK Jr. has talked about it, needing to stop this, but like, if this is it's supposed to be 2025 is this NASA plan is supposed to, I don't know, finalize or whatever, but it's already happening now. So I just wanted to put that in there. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I think it's important because, we pay these people to do this. Like, we paid for that document to be created. We pay for all the science that goes into it, and it's not in our benefit. And I know that, like, I live between military bases and airports, so I get a lot of traffic, and I'm so used to it now because I'm always on my porch that I could tell you the difference between an Apache and an MH3 or 53E Sea Dragon. Just from like 5 clicks away, I could tell just the sound between that Osprey Chinook. They all sound super different, and it's only because I see them 24/7. And I always wonder, because I, live around all these bases, I'm like in the prime spot for like being poisoned by my environment. And so that's what got me looking into, of course, checking my own rain, what was happening here. And the reality is it's happening large scale. They don't talk about it because they can't. Because what are they going to do? They talked about us staying sheltered during COVID-19, and yet all the elites were running around in their G5s because they're not going to give up their fossil fuels and their fun and their pollutants and all. They're not going to get rid of it. And they also don't want to admit, which they kept secret during COVID, that 9.8 million people globally every year die from polluted lungs, essentially, from poor air quality. 9.8 million. And you wonder how many of those got shoveled into the COVID pile when COVID happened, right? Because they can't talk about it. They can say, oh, it's a respiratory illness, but they can't say, oh, by the way, we're causing the pollution in the world. They won't say that. And it's unfortunate because it's very dishonest. It's very, very dishonest. The healthier air you have, the healthier life you're going to have. And you can see that in places in Africa where we have pharmaceutical manufacturing plants, or in Asia. The air quality there is crap. And
Destiny,
it's horrible.
They don't want us to be healthy. Come on now.
Oh, they definitely don't want us healthy. They want us dead, no more babies and all that crap. I'm going to eat the bugs. I'm not eating the shit. Nothing. I want a hamburger. I want my burger to go moo, and I don't care. So sorry, I'm not going vegan for Klaus Schwab. And he needs to go vegan, bro. You're not lying to anybody. You're not vegan, Klaus Schwab. Quit lying. You're eating babies for breakfast. We all know it. By the spoonful. Mike, are you there? We're gonna have to close without you because I will.
He's busy going through the list. You gotta let him enjoy the list right now.
Oh, I could do it all day.
I'm on number 66, the MLM recruiter.
There you go.
I just skipped up crypto.
What's really crazy? Jess,
it's there. It's there, Mike.
Jess mentioned the thing about the weather, and that dude who predicted the Trump clip in his ear also predicted that the weather would get really crazy before all this.
Well, we are entering a solar maximum, so I don't want people to get too swept away with their conspiracies, but there's reasons why. Sorry, Vinny, go ahead.
Isn't it a solar minimum? Aren't we getting to a double solar minimum?
No. We're entering the solar maximum. It doesn't peak until late next year, I believe.
Because I was taught that, or not taught, but taught myself through learning through things. I thought the sun goes through like a 243-year cycle and an 11-year cycle, right? And I think we're coming to the end of a solar minimum. And I think they said 2030 we will have pretty much the super solar minimum, which means it's at the end of it's at the end of both cycles, and that's when you get like catastrophic. Like the last time that happened, everything they reported was like you get like volcanoes, earthquakes, and there was also that summer was also the summer they called it the year without a summer because they had like
wasn't it like year like 534 or something like crazy?
It wasn't that. It was 240 some years ago, and they talked.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, like like all these we almost had a famine because of how bad it was, because the summer was like literally like the average temperature I think in the summer they said was like 71 degrees, so it just like screwed everything up. Like, and that's like I guess like in the part of the United States I was in, and they were showing that, and so like we're coming to this time where like the planet is going to like do a lot of activity, and that's because with like when the people think it's the solar maximums that do stuff, but it's actually the solar minimums when like the big volcanoes go off, the big earthquakes happen. And so yeah, and then of course now they also want to block out the sun, so will that make it worse?
Well, I just double checked, I pulled it up, and we are in a solar maximum started in 2024, and it hasn't reached its peak yet. The current solar cycle, known as solar cycle 25, began December 2019, and the cycles typically last about 11 years, which ramp up towards a peak and then will decline again. So scientists predict that the solar maximum of cycle 25 will occur. The maximum will be somewhere in 2024 or somewhere in 2025, but it doesn't say anything about the next minimum. But I mean, I could look it up. It's not that much, but yeah, no. When these things change, we've had a lot of geographical things like that have happened to Earth, and like celestial things that happen within our solar system that is really phenomenal. Like we have right now, we're in a 1 in what is it, once every 18 years once every 18 years, we have a lunar standstill, which has been going on and like almost nobody noticed. I noticed it by accident like a month ago. And then a good friend of mine told me about it and confirmed that I wasn't crazy. Because the moon right now, if you notice, it does this weird straight up, straight down thing where it kind of looks like it's rising and setting in the same place, but it's not really. It's very weird. It apparently happens once every 18 years. It hasn't happened since like 2003 or something. So it's happening right now. And then we have 3 major asteroids making their close approaches and the lost asteroid that NASA lost that they're like, yeah, we lost it, but it was supposed to hit this October, but we don't know. We don't know. And I'm like, what? I think it's called like 2001 FT3. October 5th is the date that it's supposed to hit. Maybe they don't know because they can't find it. And then September 17th as well is another one that's coming 2 lunar distances. So pretty close. And then one in December, I think on the...
Maybe we could get an asteroid to just plow right into Yellowstone and just blow that bad boy up.
Haven't you always wondered that? Like, what if it hit that? Like, would it be like ultra?
Yeah, like that's like it's already a super volcano. It's like it would
ultra
become a
volcano.
super badass volcano.
Yeah.
Or ultra, whatever. I mean,
I think
badass
all the way
sounds
out
good.
here in Pennsylvania, they say we would get like an inch of volcanic ash, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super volcano. Right? It's not just a volcano, it's a super volcano that if that bad boy erupts, like you might as well just like you take that part of the United States and say, hey, peace.
Yeah, I take particular interest in watching these things. I'm a conspiracy theorist in my heart of hearts. And I know that the world is cyclical. If we've been through major, we're in the middle of the sixth extinction right now. Like go to like Wikipedia and type in 6th extinction and it'll say you are in the midst of the 6th extinction. And you're like, oh, that's nice to know. So, interesting. Go ahead. Go, Jessica.
Conspiracy theorist is on the list, Destiny.
Woohoo!
Hey, hold on real quick, Jess. Hey, Alpha, can I be number 79?
I want a conspiracy theorist / like researcher, like an Alex Jones category for me, please.
Mike, you're the host, baby. You can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
You don't
about.
yell enough
Stop
about
it,
gay
that-
animals.
Dadgum gay animals are a problem. That's the downfall of the United
People
States.
are faking gay and they're animals, okay? Especially the gay
fake
ones.
fur and gay.
Super animals.
the fucking frogs, guy.
Jess, if you're going to go through a super volcano, baby, you're going to need to fix that with the flat fix a seal or whatever that is.
Flex
Like,
seal.
Dude, nothing is saving me
Quick
from
seal.
any of this stuff. Okay. And I understand that, yes, we are in the cyclical, the earth goes through these cycles. Yes, I absolutely agree. And yes, some of this is related, but I want people to understand that there is modification happening right now. And if you're not protecting your lungs, because it's literally it's in the air, and people are developing these coughs. They're developing these horrible it's happening in record numbers. Like it's like almost like they're just dumping everything that they can right now before the election. Just be aware when you're outside. In general, just protect your breathing, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, just in terms of finding sources for weather, I personally would, I would avoid using government provided weather resources if possible. Also, you've referenced Wikipedia. I used to use that as a source until I learned that how left leaning it is. And also, for example, on iPhone, there's a built-in weather app. That app is not telling or the Weather Channel. Those are the Weather Channel is basically MSN, mainstream media. It's not telling what's really happening. It's a narrative. And so I just encourage you, I feel that it would be awesome if SpaceX could launch their own weather satellite, because the GOES satellite and the other government satellites, their goal, and this is said by Lyndon B. Johnson, you control the weather, you control the people or something like that. Back in, was it somewhere in the 60s. I think it was right after JFK's assassination. And the goal is to cover it cover up the sky such that you can't see what's coming, and then the radars, if they're protecting what's actually happening, and they're changing what's being shown on radar for people who are looking at their own radar, it is really dangerous. People are being set up and just sitting ducks. So if they're not aware, if you don't have a weather radio, I would encourage getting an independent weather radio so that you can at least have alerts. The National Weather Service maxes out, I think, 20 tornado alerts that it can send for, or potential tornado activity regions that it can send out at any given time. Well, this year and the last couple of years, and yes, back to the cycles we are going through, it's cyclical, but also there is extreme weather happening. It's no longer called just extreme, it's called catastrophic events, according to my hand radio. They say extreme, they say severe, extreme, and then catastrophic events. It's a whole new category of things. And they are giving ranges of, predicted hail between a quarter size to a grapefruit size. Like, that doesn't help. That doesn't help people understand, So I just want people to be aware that just be aware if you see clouds in the sky, if things, the wind picks up really fast, things like that, just pay attention, because there might not be sirens. There probably won't be sirens. Just take shelter, and it could happen anytime. It's no longer tornado season. It's happening all year long. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Jessica. And I think you bring a lot of great points up. And we've got some new hands up here. I've been trying to cycle people out, so sorry if I drop you guys down. It's nothing personal. It's just to get some space up here because there is so many requests. It keeps growing. I don't know how. Go ahead, Chris, and then we got Justin right after Chris.
Hi, Destiny. How are you?
I'm trying to unmic like 5 times. I was like, hi, and it would not even let me do it. Hi.
Yeah. It's always good to see you, Destiny, and of course my wonderful CEO, President of American Mission, and there's Mike, my buddy Mike. Last but not least, Mike.
Hello, Chris.
You're definitely last, Mike.
who I
But not least, Destiny.
dearly love, Mike.
Ooh, I got dearly love, Des. What'd you get? Nothing.
Are you been huffing on paint, Chris?
Yeah, but number one, I'm a shareholder in an app called My Radar, and we have our own meteorologist, and we're launching our own weather satellite, and it's pretty cheap on Android. It's a little pricey on iPhone. It's pretty reasonable on Windows PC. It's got a bunch of different levels of participation, so that you can get all sorts of different things. Everything from your aviation weather to hurricanes and earthquakes and wildfires and your individual radar stations all across the country, and regular radar, and your water vapor pictures, and any kind of radar that you could possibly imagine, satellite pictures all around the world. And you can have a flat map, or you can have a global map that you can rotate around as many times as you want. You can get down almost to street level, and you can look at maps that are just incredible. And you can put little markers where all your friends live. And so you can keep track of where your friends live and what the weather is where they are. So it's a really neat little tool for you to have, and you can right now it's got one of the latest updates is it gives you radar in advance for up to about 2 hours. So it's really nice app, and I bought stock in that about a year and a half ago, and I'm thrilled that things are moving forward with it. Anyway, that's not why I raised my hand, but since it came up, I'm good. You know, I know this is a sensitive topic for Mike, but here we are right after Labor Day, and this is a time of year when schools are starting back in most of the country. And this is a time of year during general elections where people are starting to pay attention to the general elections. And we have things that are going on in the political world and that are not going well for some people. And what is the thing that we always see? What is the thing that we always see? We need to wipe something off of the front page of the papers and off of the internet and everywhere else, so that those headlines disappear. Nobody thinks about them, and we move on because we're fixated with one thing, and that is a school shooting. And it's the saddest, sickest, most heinous thing that can possibly happen, yet it's almost on cue every time. And you know, it's not because there's 350 million guns that are sitting idle in the country that are not murdering people, that are not out actively shooting into the air or going out to kill illegal aliens. You know, they're not doing that. You know, people are not packing their hunting rifles, their AR-15s, or whatever it is that you know they happen to have in their gun cabinets. They're not taking their whole collection to work or keeping them in their trunks. You know, we don't have an inherently violent society. We have a society that is prepared to protect themselves. We have a society that's prepared to protect this country. We have a society that is prepared to protect each other. But we don't have an inherently violent society that's willing to go out and destroy the lives of children for the sake of taking something off the front page of the newspaper. Yet every time that we have some bizarre political thing that somebody wants to take off of the front page of the newspaper, this is what we end up with. And then we don't even want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. What we want to talk about is how we want to take our guns off of the street because it's too dangerous to have guns on the street, because this is what we end up with, is school shootings.
Well, Chris, let me ask you a question. Like, I think that we all have kind of caught on to this scam, right? Of them placing a distraction on the headlines to either slip in something through Congress and some legislation that's going to screw us all in the end, or to cover up, for a political agenda. Like, this is, I think, is what we are at least expecting with the elections. Like, I'm not surprised with this crap. I'm disheartened by it, though. Of course I am. But like, I feel like we've seen this act too many times not to see it coming anymore. But the question is, like, where are we going to go from there? And before you answer that, Chris, I want to get to Justin, because I know he's probably on his way back from work right now, and he's probably got shitty service. So Justin, go ahead, and I'm going to jump back to Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike.
I'll be quick.
Hold on, guys. Mike, I have to jump for a little while. I'll be back in a little while, but you can give somebody else the co-host. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jen. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry about that. Good.
No, I'll be quick. I don't think you're witnessing the downfall of the United States. I think you're witnessing a planned, coordinated destruction and demolition of the United States. This is not an accident. These motherfuckers know what they're doing. And I'm past the point of being nice, because playing by the rules with these cocksuckers is not getting us very far now, is it? If we're going to sit back and think that our election is going to change shit, I think we got something coming. A nice surprise there, too, because last time they never sent a maintenance man out there to fix the booth. So I'm pretty kind of, pissed off today, just in general, about the shit that's going on, because it's just like, at this point, this is routine. There'll be a school shooting in another 6 weeks. Mark it on your calendar. Get ready for it. So the forefathers keep getting brought up. I want to make sure we're talking about the same forefathers, because the ones that I have in my mind, they'd have been stacking bodies for the last 5 years, not sitting back, just watching this shit take place. So, I mean, to sit here and say I have hope, I'd rather be prepared than have hope at this point. And I'm going to get off here because, my mood really ain't pleasant. But you guys have a good day anyway, and I'll continue to listen.
Hey, Mike.
Thank you, Justin. My man, baby.
Send me the co-host real
Yes,
quick.
Jen.
I forgot. I left with the co-host, and I didn't mean to, so I don't want to mess your space up.
I don't know what that means, but I will invite you to co-host again.
Just do what she says.
I always do.
No, so when people are
They can hear
co-hosting,
you.
if they leave without canceling their co-host, that's why you can't have other co-hosts come up. So when people are co-hosting, they have to cancel the co-host and then leave, so then the host can have other co-hosts come up.
Oh, well, Vinny, I apologize for inviting you to be a co-host, and Jen just took it away from you. So, Jen, get out of my freaking space. Dang it, she did leave. Crap. That's right. She found. Oh my God, I totally bossed Jennifer around. I think that was awesome. Yeah, she better do what I tell her.
You gonna lead speed
All right, guys,
round,
we're
Mike?
gonna-
You're gonna lead it? Let's
Yeah.
lead into it then.
No, you are. Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
speed
Wrap
round.
this.
Okay, we're
Give
not
us a good
taking any more
speed round.
hands. Everyone who's in the wow, I lost my headphones here. It just dropped right out of my face. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna speed around. Hands that are still up.
I'd get
Vinny.
it.
I do what I want.
Crap.
I do what I
Damn
want.
straight.
She heard me. She's bad. I knew it. I knew she heard me. She come up freaking Lawrence.
All right, the hands that are up, let's just go. We'll just all be polite and we'll all speak, not over each other, right? That's what we're gonna do. And we got how long we got, Mike?
Quick,
You first, of course, Chris.
yeah, real quick. I just want to acknowledge the folks on QUX and Pilled and Rumble and Kick and YouTube that we're streaming to, because every week it's important that this show go out to as many people as possible, because this is valuable. This is valuable back and forth when people say something, and we have a lot of people that are saying something here in this space every week, and when people get to hear that and they get motivated, they do something. And I want to, Mike and Destiny have been doing this show for a long time, and we're happy to have the affiliation, the American Mission affiliation with you guys, and we're very thankful that that's ongoing, and we look forward to a really long relationship. Thank you.
Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, look, let me just say this real fast. We got Kim's up here as well. She can certainly back us up on this. American Mission is one of the best organizations that I've been around. I love everybody involved with them. Go to AmericanMission.com, check out what they have there. You can choose to listen, you can choose to read, you can choose to pay and have more access to some great articles, great links, great videos, great everything. Like, it's a great organization. If you want to try to get involved with people and on a grassroots level, get involved in your community, these are the people you want to be involved with. This is how it works. Find these people. Just start by going to AmericanMission.com, checking that out. Easy peasy, beautiful.
We also have a super sweet shirt that I came up with that I hope people appreciate. And we can actually do, unlike my abort Democrats from office shirt that we're not allowed to do. Instead, we got a no war, what's called vote Trump shirt. And I think that's awesome. Just very simple, easy message to go send to people. No war, vote Trump. I think that is the most effective message that we have not just held on to and screamed from the top of our lungs. So I think it's a great shirt, and I think you guys should check it out and buy one if you can. And if you can't, I'm sorry, but it'd be cool if you could, because it helps out American Mission, and it makes it so that, we can do more and bring more people on and try to, get candidates in and host certain things. So, there's a lot of different good things that we can do with that. And people always ask, like, what can they do? If you don't have money, you can always join us and try to help us out. If you have a skill, something you do that's really good, and you think you can, and American Mission might need to use it, then come to us and offer us that skill as well. This isn't us taking anything and trying to, manipulate people out of something. This is us trying to grow something that in 30 years we can hand down to our kids and say, we built American Mission because we wanted to change the country. We wanted to have influence. The things that we've done together on this app to influence our government has been amazing. And we just need to keep doing that, because this is the true future. When I talk to people in here, if this were the people running my country, I would have unbelievable hope for my country. But instead, it's monsters. So that's why we have to unite together here, and we move together. Whatever. If we can take back the country, we do it. If not, we move. You know what I mean? I like the fact that someone kind of said it the other day, and I like that, Mike, you've been winking at him, but like, we might have to build not a commune, but a community together to keep away from this stuff, because we can use local government and state government and things like that to defend ourselves. So if it comes down to that, we can still plan. We just need our freedom of speech. And that's why it's so important, because, we might have to cede ground, but we will not be conquered.
Amen, brother. And just what Vinny just said, it's those kind of opinions, those kind of topics, those kind of articles, that's on American Mission. So everybody that's listening, one thing to all the listeners in this space right now, as we kind of wrap this thing up, thank you guys so much for coming out and listening. But I want you to do this next Wednesday. Make it your objective to come out and take a mic and speak, right? Come out and say something, literally come out and say something on the space next week. I know that we had a lot of people tonight. We had to kind of cut this space short, but next week, come out here, 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern, and take a mic and say something. And I know it's nerve wracking. I know it's kind of messes with you and stuff like that, but it's okay, because you got a lot of great people in here. So make sure you look at all the people that are speakers up here, give them a follow, turn on your notification bell so you get all the alerts. And if you turn on your notification bell for me and Des, you will know next week exactly when it's coming up. You'll find out about it. You'll be able to join us. You'll be able to grab a mic and say something. See how I did that, Vinny? See how I segued it right there? It's timing. It's all timing, and it's all timing and writing. It's right, and lighting also. The lighting helps a little bit.
Is that what happened to the bottom of this space? You were gonna have a video space and you wussed out.
I was gonna have a video space.
Don't have a. That's why we don't have a.
Good job, Mike.
Yeah,
we can't have.
Yeah,
nice
you can't
things in here.
pivot. The technology, guys. Remember, the only thing that also sucks is that we are flying in the Millennium Falcon of apps when it comes to, or of sections of this app. We are held together by, you know, rubber bands and popsicles.
That was supposed to be Chewbacca. That sounds like
Money
one of
machine
Destiny's
goes.
growls. Okay. Oh, okay. So here we go. Go ahead, Des.
No, what? I was just saying.
She's throwing a.
I heard you. Oh, God, it sounds like those freaky. I can't tell the difference
It's
between
like a
Destiny's
soft
and those
pigeon.
crickets.
Okay.
Okay, that was a really soft pigeon. Those crickets are louder than you are, though. Go ahead.
I didn't have anything to say.
Call on somebody. It's not for me to do it. I'm above that.
Peter, go right ahead.
Oh,
I'm above.
I was in Cardi B's space earlier today, and I lost brain cells just from 2 minutes. I had to go and read a book a little bit to get them back. Man.
Wait, speaking of reading a book in Cardi B,
I'm gonna steal that
did
line.
you know that she actually used to be the Disney show like alphabet train person? Like back in the day, like she was the one who taught you your alphabet with the train caboose bringing the letters by. That was her singing the song.
Are you
She's
serious?
Like, I swear, yeah, it's crazy. That's how she got her start.
Took the caboose thing too far.
How did she go? Yeah, how did she go from there to being a prostitute in the Bronx, drugging people when they come to the strip club? That's what I want to know.
It's a lot closer of an avenue than you think.
Oh man, great conversation, great space. I wanted to go back to an earlier question you were asking. What is the thing that directly affects you on a day-to-day? And I would say it's got to be taxes and inflation. And I would imagine it's got to be for everybody in here, right? So my biggest thing would be reforming the tax code and allowing people to not have to contribute to Social Security, to be able to invest it privately, and a voucher program for their children instead of it going to woke indoctrination centers, which are the public school system that we see right now. So yeah, man, taxes and inflation, if we could bring that down, then I think we can get this under control, because these people could beat their gums and talk all the nonsense they want, but if they have no money to be able to do anything, they have no power. So take the money away, take the power away. I'll land there.
Peter, that made so much sense. It was so on point. It was so precise and accurate that I feel like I need to go listen to a Cardi B song right now, just to kind of bring me back down to like normal. I was so elevated there mentally and intellectually that I'm going to have to go. I can't help it, bro. I'm stealing that line. I'm going to use it on my kids at school. I'll be like, God dang, y'all. I feel like I got to go read a book. Y'all just dumb me down. I got to.
That's the first time you ever heard that? Like, wow.
She's from my area too.
I've probably heard you say it, but you didn't deliver it as well.
Well,
I see her.
Ignored it.
I see her here. I'm from Jersey. I'm in Bergen County, Hudson County, and she goes to the bank that I go to all the time. And man, it's wild.
Wait,
Yeah,
you just
Cardi-
see Cardi B at the bank?
Yeah, Cliffside Park, Fort Lee, those local towns and areas. She lives right here, like in Edgewater. So see her all the
My
time.
account got
gets
commas in it.
carbons?
That's one of the lyrics.
Do you think she gets carbons on her checking account? Like she writes the check and then like
Damn,
she
Daddy,
keeps the
fine.
carbons. So
Does she
she
just sign them WAP?
Yeah.
and she just writes. She fills it in the
Okay.
ledger at the back of the
There's
checkbook.
nothing wrong with WAP.
Minus $10.
Okay, I bought the limited edition WAP album, like the actual album.
Oh, jeez.
It's signed by Cardi B. I'm gonna make some money off it one day. Okay.
Yeah, if you exploit some person, good, I guess. But no,
She won't take it personally. She was a stripper. Like, exploitation's the game.
no, it's all good. I have LeBron James and like Steph Curry stuff when I don't really care about that, just because I got it in basketball just to sell it to people. So because that sport.
Yeah, you want to make a trade? I have the Olympics 1992 Michael Jordan jersey, limited edition. Let's talk trade, bro.
No, what's it called? I might maybe for I have.
I'm kidding. I wouldn't trade that for anything.
I have
it's in
a
mint
tile.
condition.
I have a tile. It's not a high quality tile. That's the only thing that makes it a little weird. But I have a tile that's signed by the whole Cavaliers team that won the only championship with LeBron James on it. I have the whole team signed and the coach.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie.
A bathroom tile?
It's a like a laminate wood tile. So I think the person, what happened was he needed something to bring in, and I think he was a floor person, and he brought it, and it was just like one of those things, but it's signed by all of them, and it he was smart and put like a Cavs logo on it. So like it looks pretty dope. And somebody who's
we did that at the Rockets too, though. We sold off the
oh, nice.
floor.
Maybe it is a piece of floor. That'd be crazy. But yeah, they literally it has LeBron James. I bought it for like $500. It was on eBay. I couldn't believe it was up there. And I was like, I'm gonna hold on to that until one day, like right before LeBron James retires, somebody in Cleveland's like, I'll give you $1 million for it. Because just be an emotional thing. I forget how we got here. Now I'm in this part of my brain. I wanted to comment on something that Destiny said before, and all I'm thinking is sports memorabilia.
Hurry and say it before Maze connects.
I don't remember. Go ahead, Maze. Just
Wait,
hurry. She's
Maze
still
just
connecting.
snuck up here and I didn't even see it. Right, Maze?
put me out of my misery, Maze. I just went down sports memorabilia.
No, you saved me from these goons.
Hi guys, what's up?
How's it going, Maze?
Good. I was excited to see you guys because I always miss the spaces. I'm always late, or it's like I don't know. I'm just happy that I finally made it. But what are we talking about? The downfall of the United States? How about the saving of the United States?
Yeah.
Well, that would answer the same question, Maze. What is it that is causing, or what is it that you would want to save? What's causing the downfall of the United States? What do we need to save first? Like what would you be your priority?
Well, the cause of it is I mean, everybody's got a different perception of the reality of what's happening. I mean, it's really hard to even, well, I will say that it's beginning through the chaos. I'm seeing it begin to organize in ways that's natural. Like I think that the authenticity of people and their desires are peeping that in other people. And then almost repelling the opposite. I've been noticing that it's, before it was really easy to hide. But so I think that our government is completely occupied by treasonous congressmen. I mean, everybody that I can that has, any role in passing legislation and any acts that they're doing it in the best interest of these lobbies. Then we have the public-private partnerships, which is the corporations that are partnering with legislators at the global level, and they're writing white papers, they're writing policies, they're writing, national strategies that are aligned with the global, and then they're just pushing it down the pipeline. So I think that we need to just get our government back. I don't know, to be honest with you, the lobbying thing I think is the number one problem. I don't know. Everybody's got all these different opinions. It's the freedom of speech. It's this, it's that. What we're doing by allowing lobbying, and I beg somebody to give me an argument, maybe that could, this is on the chopping block, but it's letting, them buy our Congress. Why are we doing that? I guess I just don't understand why we do that. But I think it's got us in the situation that we're in now.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. Your boy Alpha was up here earlier, and he said, which I thought was a great point. And my wife actually said something very similar. She goes, if it was he was talking about patriotism as being one of the top things that we need to fix. Basically, that is called the lack of patriotism, rather, that's causing the downfall of this country. And it was like, we were talking about, if something were to happen to her, I would not hesitate to save her. And if something was happening to me, she would not hesitate to save me. But we think about this country, and a lot of people in this country hesitate to save the country, right? Because we don't love it. A lot of us don't love it the way that the greatest generation loved it, or the people before us loved it, the founders and the people who built this country. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was a great point that he brought up, Maze, about, the Patriots. But I totally agree with you as far as, the lobbying. It just, that's like a thing, that the corruption there is so
Mike,
thick. I don't even think any of us consider that.
Mike, how could you love it? I mean, you got a whole group of people telling you it's okay for men to go into the girls' bathroom and chop your genitals off as a child. Like, I bring this up in a lot of different spaces, and I can't get a good answer. And I think it's because it's so correct. I don't think there could be reconciliation. I think it's one side has to conquer the other side, and that's it, man. How do you reconcile with people that want to take almost all of your income and stifle your speech take away your weapons and basically say you have to comply. I mean, we saw what happened in 2020. They literally said you shouldn't be able to participate in society. We want you just to have nothing if you don't get this experimental bioweapon injected into your body. That doesn't sound like a friendly person or someone that's a countryman to me. That sounds like an enemy within that needs
Peter,
to be.
That's the occupation that I'm talking about. There's the global element that you're just like when you said the jabs, that's talking about the global element. But then it's also, you know, and even the transgender and chopping off whatever, that's even still at the global level. But there are you know, I love my country. I 100% love my country. And I know that there's nowhere else I'd rather live. I know that. And the thing about it is that people would have to get uncomfortable in order, like either they're going to be something external is going to swing them into being uncomfortable in whatever capacity that looks like, whether it means, you know, just consequences for them, you know, being active and activism or whatever, or they're going to have to wait until everything crashes and then the real suffering kicks in for everybody. But I just don't know that people are going to be able to come together to act in a meaningful way at the same time because their comfort levels differ and their view of reality differs. And yeah, I agree with the patriotism. I think people, but they're so consumed with work. People are struggling, like the economic hardships in our country. I mean, look at all the homelessness is unlike ever before. It's so sad. Like I hate to think of people being hungry and cold and, you know what I'm saying, and not having the things that they need. And by default in this country, if you fit these check boxes, you're supposed to be able to, you know, be eligible for support and help and whatever. However, everything is run, it's just run amok. And I think, so when people hit that hard bottom, what do they call it? Rock bottom. And this means like when everything crashes, I think we'll all be forced into doing something about it. I don't know what that looks like though.
Agreed. Let me ask an expert real quick. Mr. Jim Pfaff, what's up, brother? Jim Pfaff. Look, if you don't follow Jim, I'm sorry, Jim, and I hate to embarrass you with this, but it goes for Maze as well. But if you don't follow Maze and Jim, you're making a huge mistake. They're two of my favorite people on Spaces. Love Maze, love Jim, and I have to say this, Jim, to you. And again, I apologize beforehand. One of the most commonsensical people that I've heard speak, who does so with a faith-based background, who, as a Christian myself, I love to hear him speak about that. He is, somehow or another, he can talk about crypto and economics at the same freaking level. So I'm jealous, and I don't like Jim personally, like inside, because I'm very, very envious of who he is as a human being. But I have to say that I like him in front of, so everybody else will follow him. That's just, it's a lot of conflict, Jim. A lot of conflict.
Well, you're very, very kind to be so kind, but I hope I can ever reach the status of what I'm representative of here. But hey, I wanted to address, and I love Maze, and she's a wonderful lady. And of course, we haven't talked for a while, lady, so I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so I have to say, there is a problem with lobbying for sure. I mean, I lived it. I've lived and breathed it. I spent nearly 10 years on Capitol Hill as a chief of staff for a couple of different members of Congress. I've seen the in and outs. I actually know a lot of lobbyists because I spent a lot of time having to deal with all that. And both those who would come into the office and those who wanted to be supportive of the members that I was working for. I have to say that as corrupt as that system can be, the bigger problem is the ways that Congress insulates itself outside of this whole lobbying issue. And there are myriad ways of doing this. And that's the bigger problem is the people we elect. And I think we need to be very purposeful about the type of people we want to support. It's going to take a lot of time in primary elections finding people who don't want to be bought by the system. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone who goes up to DC is potentially corrupted by the system. The system is bad. It is a big, 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 big problem. And but I tell people all the time, it scares me the people that we elect to Congress. I mean, I can't imagine more than 20% of them that are on either side of the aisle that are valuable people who are willing to assert the Constitution, willing to truly represent their members without being corrupted by things, not just in the lobbying corps, but other things. Listen, these people that get elected there are quite often, what you figure out when you first get up to DC as a member of Congress is you realize you can make even more money if you just work the system well enough. You're getting paid $174,000 a year. Many of these people could not afford to leave Congress once they get elected because you literally put, unless you're independently wealthy, you put aside your career entirely. There's no time for anything else. So that may be, I think that it's a greater corrupting, there's corruption all around, but there's a greater corrupting influence from the person who leaves their career to become a member of Congress than even the person who is independently wealthy, who can also be corrupted, don't get me wrong, but that's a greater corruption because these people are scared. I can't tell you the number of members of Congress who were about to lose their elections, who lost their elections, or who were in fear of losing their elections, who they would freak out. And so what are you going to do? Well, you're going to do everything you can to be helpful, which means that you give in to the system. Peter Schweitzer, and I'll stop this little rant, but Peter Schweitzer, a good friend of mine, by the way, and a brother in Christ, FYI, he wrote a book called Throw Them All Out, where he clearly stated, and quotes lobbyists and these people he quoted anonymously, but I know this to be true. They felt like that the members of Congress were jacking them around, not the other way around. There are some lobbyists who have this superpower that the leadership in Congress on either side of the aisle have. They work with them to control others. But most lobbyists feel like they get jacked around because here's what happens, and Peter outlined it in a few instances in that book. There'll be one big issue that comes up, and then all the fundraisers and all the checks are written from the lobbyists when one side of that issue comes up. Then that bill drops and it fails, and then the other side of that issue comes up, maybe the Democrat side compared to the Republican side, and then all the lobbying checks come in and all the fundraisers are happening then, and then it goes away. I mean, this happens notoriously and regularly on Capitol Hill, and there's also a good argument that just the corrupt people that get elected are the ones who are the problem as well. So don't blame the lobbyists entirely. Don't let the members off. They play this game, and I saw it. And what Peter wrote in that book is 100% accurate. So there's a whole lot of corruption to go around. And I'll land on this diatribe by saying this: the number one thing we need is for people to pray for this country and to get the courage to push back against the system with all of them, and do not be aligned so closely to political party that you just let people have a free pass, because it is the leadership in Congress of both sides of the aisle who almost without exception are the most corrupt of them all. And that's the battle that you saw last year with Kevin McCarthy as speaker and ultimately having the motion to vacate, kick him out, and the frustrations with even Mike Johnson right now, and then Paul Ryan before them and John Boehner before them. That's something you have to take into account as you're thinking through this.
Hey, Jim, because the lobbying system is so entrenched, would term limits even be able to help it, right? Because they would just go after and have their hooks in the next person that's up and coming before they even get in there. Do you think that it would have a demonstrable effect having term limits?
I think it would. I worked in the Colorado legislature for a few years. A friend of mine asked me to come back there before I kind of went back, finishing my work in direct legislative, chief of staff type stuff. And I also have a long-standing political footprint in Colorado for many years, all the way back to 2005. They have term limits, 8 years for members of the House and 2 terms for members of the Senate. And I think it has a net positive effect. But the problem is still the corruption. and you still see members, even in the Colorado legislature, act in a corrupt manner. And this really goes back to the heart of the issue. Politics is downstream of culture. And I don't mean to beat everyone up and make them feel bad about themselves and who they vote for. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's really about us. A really good friend of mine, who's I'm not going to call him out because he's a Libertarian Senate candidate right now who's running against the Republican Senate candidate who's also a friend of mine. So I have two friends in this one state running against each other. But this Libertarian friend of mine, he always says this, and he's right. He says, we have a soft revolution every 2 years at the ballot box if we're willing to assert it. And this is why I've worked in grassroots politics for so long, 30 years now or more, because I've been trying to get us to a place where that grassroots politics overcomes the system itself, because you can't address it at one place. It's a hydra. If you know about the Greek mythology of the hydra, it's a 7-headed beast, and when you chop off one head, you still have 6 more to deal with, and then the head of the one you chopped off grows back immediately. I mean, that's the problem that we have, and the only way to destroy it is with, allegorically speaking, the head of Medusa, that what's his name in the Odyssey pulled out of his bag. He killed the Medusa. When he faced the Hydra, he held Medusa's head up that he had chopped off so he didn't look at it, and it turned the Hydra to stone. Whatever that Medusa's head is, and frankly, I think it's the Constitution if we all are willing to agree on it. And frankly, it's faith in the Lord Jesus Christ for Christians if they're willing to recognize that Ephesians 6 applies in all this. That's the only way to kill the Hydra, is to turn it into stone. And I'm just waiting for the opportunity to figure that out, how we can get there. The Tea Party movement was about to do it, and then they got co-opted by the system. So let's just remember, this is a difficult battle. It requires prayer and a lot of action and concerted effort.
Amen, brother. Amen. Great stuff. Des, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry I jumped in there. Maze, jump in there. Des, you got it.
No, go ahead, Maze.
So, I mean, that sounds nice and everything, but I don't know. Are we just going to not talk about how all of our money, we have $38 million per day going to fucking Israel? I mean, it's crazy to me that we can sit here and find all these other issues when there's the big motherfucking elephant in the room right here.
It's only $17 billion annually, Maze. It's not even anything. It's not a big deal.
For you, okay? All right. That's all the snakes you need on one head. I think that we have to get control of that back. And until we do, it's going to be difficult to do anything because it feels like a handcuff, right? And that's why I brought up the lobbying thing, because what they're doing specifically, AIPAC, is that they have a whole bunch of PACs that they're controlling money through. And they're not even registered as foreign, but all of their things it's in the interest of Israel. And this is wrong. Is there something that we could do, Jim, that you know of, that would be able to at least force them to register as foreign? That would be a huge step. And then they would just have to disclose where they get their money from. I think that would be, I think that's actually what would make it legal, because right now I think that they're operating illegally. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's all an important issue, and I agree with you. Remember, I worked for Thomas Massey as his chief of staff, who's been one of the greatest critics of AIPAC on the Republican side of things. But that's a symptom. It's not the problem, but it is a bad symptom. It's a very horrible one. Frankly, I think we need to stop doing foreign aid everywhere in the world. I think that countries need to take care of themselves. And if there's some appropriate way that we can be helpful back, then that needs to happen through trade agreements, I'm for limited trade agreements. One of the things the libertarian side of trade agreements is, well, it's just got to be because it works for everybody. Well, it doesn't work for everybody when your trade agreements are balanced against yourself, and we should go to unilateral trade agreements where we tell countries we're not going to benefit you in your trade agreement unless we have a reciprocally beneficial relationship. Ostensibly, we're supposed to be doing that, and we don't. And so the World Trade Organization, all these trade things. So I don't want to go too deep into that, but we should be requiring these countries to have a reciprocal arrangements with us in other areas that would build trust and association that ostensibly foreign aid does. But foreign aid is a problem. I don't disagree generally with what you're saying, Maze. But again, that's a symptom. That is.
Well, what did you say? We can make
APAC report themselves being foreign agents, and we're still never going to get at the root cause of this problem.
But did you mention what the root cause was? I had a phone call. Unfortunately, part of what when you were talking, I heard you with the Greek mythology, Medusa, and all that. But I missed what you may have said. As if you have.
That the Greek thing was related to the Hydra, but I won't repeat it. Here's the root cause. It's us. Politics is downstream of culture.
But the thing is that like even if we act in the ways that we think is the right thing to do, like go and vote, do you think that the elections were compromised? Do you trust the election system? Just a quick question.
I do not trust the election system the way it is presently constructed, in the sense of having massive mail ballot voting.
So
I think we need to look at how to address that. That's hard to do constitutionally, because I don't know that the federal government has constitutional authority to tell states they can't do mail ballots. But I do think that is a problem. But again, even when you look at situations like that and the challenge that is, and it is a very real and concerning one, it's still up to us somehow to step up to the plate and do this. There's a big debate going on right now. There's a book by a lady named Megan Basham called Shepherds for Sale. And she talks about how progressive big money has gone into the evangelical church to get pastors and religious leaders to try to move what has been a very conservative voting bloc into a more progressive structure. And it's a very real thing. The infiltration of that big money. Now, I would love to address the George Soros problem big time. That might be an even a bigger thing. But then on the other side, you have these idiots like Robert Reich, the former Commerce Secretary under the Clinton administration, out there talking about how Elon Musk is unaccountable for all he's doing, and he never even mentions George Soros. So that money issue may be part of it as well. But really,
can I ask a question about George?
Yeah.
Like so when he's donating, this is an honest question actually, like when he's donating to these people, whether it's judges or whatever, people, politicians, what is he doing? Like, what is, I guess, is there, like, how do people, like, anybody could just, I know that this is something that's probably, and mind you, I'm green on this whole thing, so I'm asking like genuine questions. Why are we allowing, big money? We know that I think everyone in here would agree that we have a problem with these elites that are trying to literally take over and advance, I think, their own interests and kind of, we've been dealing with that. We've been resisting that. We've been talking about sharing information. And yet we let them come and buy our fucking politicians. What sense does that make? Like, I just don't understand how do we change that, Jim? How do we change allowing, like, it's a system. It's a deeper system change where they need to be willing to serve and get paid a salary and not bank on getting paid anything more. Like, kick it up a notch or make it, whatever. But it's not like, I feel like it's so filthy, the intention and the motivation, like the lack of, concern, the patriotism in our fucking government. Where the fuck is that? Like, the Congress is completely corrupt. And I think it's because money has been the root of the evil. It is buying them. And then if they don't comply, then it'll pay their opposing team just to make sure they don't win. This is problematic. I think it's criminal, it's treasonous, and I would really like to talk about less I would say mythological, but like more tangible action items. Like, what can we do? What steps can we take, to see accountability and to change the system?
Well, isn't it rooted in Citizens United, right, Jim?
What?
I said, isn't it rooted in the Citizens United decision, right? That's speech. Money is speech, and that's why you have the corporations allowed to be able to make and form these super PACs and then to donate all this money.
You're right about the latter part of this. I don't know for sure that anyone can say that the first part of what you said is accurate, which means that Citizen United destroyed all this. Guys, there's been money in politics forever. But you go further back. The Federal Election Commission was created in the 1970s. Why? Because there were big news stories about how Richard Nixon was getting unlimited contributions that no one knew about from major corporate interests. Of course, the Democrats were getting the same thing, but Richard Nixon was the bad guy. But we didn't used to report contributions at all in this country prior.
But look at where we are, though. I don't care how far back we go. I think that what we're seeing it now, like accumulate, like the implications, the adverse implications of this have grown and accumulated, and it's now to the point to where we don't even know what to do. We can't vote them out. We can't vote to fix this. We can't. I mean, we have a systemic issue. It's within the systems and how we are allowing them to be put. Like, so what I'm saying is, I know you're so knowledgeable about this, and I'm curious, even if you want to pull in some of your colleagues or other experts and stuff, that we can have conversations around, like, what steps would we need to take in order? I mean, there's a state level, the federal level. Yeah.
Yeah. The frustration you feel on the outside of the system is the frustration that I have persistently had on the inside of the system when I was trying. And trust me, I've taken a lot of knocks and bruises. Guys I worked for in Congress were kicked off their committees. I have been harangued personally in the media when I'm trying to address these issues. I've been around the block on this. And the one thing that I would love to have had more of than I did in all my political activities is more help from the outside. I want to give you one example, and then I want to address what you said directly with some maybe not so good news. I don't know. I hope it's good news. But in 2006, and you can agree or disagree on the topic, anyone in the room or anyone up here on stage. But in 2006, I was working for Focus on the Family in Colorado Springs. And Dr. Dobson tasked me with running the marriage amendment effort, at least all Focus's efforts. And actually, I ended up running the effort in conjunction with the Catholic Conference and a few other religious leaders who were concerned about this issue at the time. We won big on a very red issue in a very blue year. Remember, Congress went to Democrats in 2006. Colorado was trending blue. It's pretty solid blue now. It was only trending blue at the time, but it was a blue year for the state as well. And we passed a marriage amendment, which we outspent 6-1 with a 60% vote, and then we defeated a domestic partnerships referendum with a 53% no vote. Now, the reason that's significant is not so much because of the issue itself, because I'm sure there are people listening to me talk right now or listening to this recording who might disagree on the issue. The reason it is important is because of what we did. We ran a campaign that identified voters well and actually got them out to vote. The grassroots efforts, Republicans don't do grassroots politics. Democrats do grassroots politics. You want to know one thing that Democrats have done in particular that have caused this country harm? They became excellent at grassroots politics while Republicans suck. This is hard work.
But Jim, are you talking about voting them out and voting new people in? Is that what you're saying?
I'm making that inference by what I'm saying. And I have to tell you this, I have said often, I'm sure you've heard it, Maze, I know everyone else has, 6,000 years of recorded human history proves the radical corruption of man. I mean, whether it's elected politicians or us as citizens, we have to work hard to be good. You don't just end up being good. And most countries have never been as good as the United States. Very few countries have, and only for a limited amount of time. So this is a hard struggle. I'm going to quote a scripture verse because I think it really is something we need to recognize here. Proverbs.
Can I say one thing before?
Let me finish my point.
Because I want, but it's about the
Proverbs.
Oh, okay.
Proverbs 14:34 says, "Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people." Now, I'm not entirely trying to proselytize here, although I do come from that viewpoint. The reality is this: we all know that when bad people run a nation, when a nation is filled with bad people, that it goes the wrong way. So we need to address that issue in part. That is part of our problem, is us.
How?
But I'll finish on this. But the other part of the issue is that systems change when people work hard to change them and find the inspiration to get there. Sometimes we just need a lucky break that happens because we changed our minds because we got tired of it enough. When you read the book of Judges, you hear that Israel would go, would walk with God and had prosperity. Then they turned away from God and they got attacked by their enemies in judgment. And then they cried out to God and God delivered them. There is this cycle that happens in world history. And I think we're on the bottom end of the cycle here where we might just be able to come out of it because people are so frustrated.
May I just because I want what I've noticed in my spaces, even in re-listening to them, I do that for my own, to give myself feedback. And I tend to we get close to something and then somebody comes out and they, and they give this, and I love philosophy. I love, theology and all that. But like sometimes it's important to really remain focused and talk about the tactical civics. Like I'm telling you that, yes, I believe it starts with the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror in my case. And I want to do something about it. I just don't remember ever really being taught much about this. I think maybe there's some classes, but I mean, there has to be people that's within 6 degrees of separation within this app where we can begin, actually really talking about things that people can do in their county level. I think that this is probably going to require all levels. And I get it. We need to find the jugular. But at the same time, I don't know that people even understand the tactical civics part of it. I sure as hell don't. And so I think that, voting people in and out, great. That's definitely not been working considering the system problem that we talked about. So like, I guess what I'm saying
Mace, can I give a little input that may help?
Please. Go ahead.
So I love everything you guys are saying. I really do. I truly do. And I'm coming from a very, very similar place to a lot of you. I know my firm faith and my foundation, it stems from that. But I also am very well aware of the external, sort of looming elements that I was once participating in. And I'm not trying to, come across as far as like a knower of all and, it's my way or the highway. It's not about that because there are so many layers to this, right? There's so many things. But one thing that I can't figure out for the life of me is, we know where the line is drawn. The bankers run everything. The bankers bought the government, but we're the government. Okay. So what is that telling us? The answers are right in front of our face. Yes, there's efforts on the inside that need to be done in order to protect the outside, such as us, we the people. But those should be the people with a little more know of the system that they're getting involved in, knowing that they have a mission at hand, knowing that it is the international commercial buyout of the government that is the whole perpetuation of the problem. It's the never-ending engine that's running itself, and the people who are participating are just the foot soldiers who are continuing the cycle. And so when is it going to be enough to when we stop registering, literally, because a registration is a foreign one, because we are registering our businesses, we are registering our cars, we are registering everything. And the kicker and the irony about everything is it's not the outside elements that yes, they should register. Like, and this is where FARA is corrupt, right? Foreign Agent Registration Act. And that's a joke. It's run by 6 people throughout the DOJ, and they don't do shit. So that's a big joke in and of itself. Well, why? Because the system.
Am I the only one that doesn't understand? Can you break that down for me? But if everybody else understands, then I won't ask. But what do you mean the registration and the foreign thing? Like, I guess.
Yep. So if any external, so foreign to the United States of America, does business with the United States of America in a government sort of element or fashion through any one of the agencies or sub-agencies to the government, they're supposed to register as a foreign agent through this registry known as FARA, which is the foreign.
You're saying like American business owners?
No, I'm saying any. So
okay,
like,
so you're talking about the
like the Ericssons,
okay,
the Ericssons, the Maximus Incs of the world, the multinational corporations that are, set up and registered through, I don't know, like random loopholes in the system because it's one system. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't mean to yell into this, but it's passion, because it's like, man, if we could just recognize that, yeah, it's going to take us being the outsider. This is me coming from a place as a man who's just, at one point said, screw it. I'm done registering my life away. And I pulled out and I'm like, I'm going to see what's going to happen from here. Right. And then I found out that there's international trade and then there's international commerce, and they're 2 entirely different things. Now, the states can conduct business amongst the states as well as, how the formation of everything was done, and all is well, right? And then other entities outside, right, then would be done in a commercial aspect. Everything is under international commerce at this point, which is foreign in and of itself. It all makes it entirely international, including us. So the problem isn't so much that, like you guys, for example, like an American Mission and everything, it's like, I'm not trying to, point or anything like that, but I'm saying like, man, if why is there so much passion put in, but yet it's still under the looming element? Because every entity, this is what we had a problem with the churches, because even though they were registered as a 501c3, 501c4, 501c8, whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. That is a tax status, but they're still registered through the government, which means they're bound by the rules, regulations, statutes, codes, policies, procedures, so on and so forth. So no wonder why they had Gestapo going in and ripping out pastors out of churches, and why they were forced to mandate masks and all of this other crap. Well, guess what? When you contract with a system that is corrupt, what do you think is going to happen? And so this is kind of just a big looming question of when is enough to where, yes, we can elect our leaders and our officials. But once again, self-governing tells us very clear that we are in power as far as not every man and woman, because we're all equal and created equal. But this is that thing, if you can keep it, that comes about once upon a time from a guy who talked about the Republic question, because it was a question to the people. Are you going to be able to keep these people at bay and the powers that be from wanting more control? And are you going to allow that to happen? We, the people, allow that to happen. And that is the mirror moment that we all need to have reflection on and realize that we as self-governing people make up the people of the states, which then, are independent from other aspects of things, especially internationally. And if we decide as people to have a contract with something or someone, that's fine. That's an honorable thing to do, and we have the right to remove ourselves from it. But to loom this over every man, woman, and child is just insanity. And every time we register another business, we're continuing the system. So I'll end my rant there.
Your solution to not register businesses? That's why I was
asking. Yeah, so we can so we can do it in a way that we're recognized. I'm not saying that it's not important. It's a huge element. I mean, what is it? 75% of a lot of the money that's flowing is done by family businesses. I mean, that's a huge chunk of money that's flowing throughout our country. But what I'm saying is we don't need to register our family businesses and our livelihoods to a system of control, that the system is one system, which pretty much at this point, it's just all the, the banking cartel that's taken over everything. And when in all reality,
Okay, I need to ask a really dumb question. What is the alternative? Because I guess that's where I was asking you, like, or do you mean the everyday person registering their business? And you were giving me those big corporations, but like, what is? I like where you're going. If I'm understanding, you're saying that this could have a significant impact if they weren't necessarily registered, but can they just operate without being registered? I just don't know.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry.
No. That's a great question, because that's the thing. When was it ever law that we had to, right? So the thing of it is, without full and clear disclosure of how this has been done, here we are. And so we, it's like lawful trade exists in a world that's not done in international commerce, which is the incorporation. So when you talk about the system, it's the incorporating aspect. The registration is the incorporation, right? It is the consent through contractual obligations in international commerce. That's the problem. So we can do things unincorporated. We can conduct trade. We can act in a honorable, lawful manner, and we can have our family businesses.
Okay,
now,
so let me just jump in here and say something very quickly. I mean, what you're saying has a lot of truth to it in terms of how the banking system and they have their tentacles and things. That's the whole Federal Reserve thing. Like, we got to get rid of the Federal Reserve. But and the registration of businesses. I mean, yeah, I do agree that people are becoming part of the system when they're registering. But the problem is, once you start extracting yourself from all that, then you've got the system fighting against you. So you have to change the system. Listen, I think churches should stop registering as 501c3 organizations. By the way, they should be doing that right now, because the standard deduction for a person causes almost no one to itemize anything that they do in their deductions. You can't give enough money. Hold on, let me finish. You can't give enough. Hold on a minute. You can't give enough money to your church to get past the 22.5 standard deduction that my wife and I in our 50s claim. So that goes by the way. So there's no other reason to register as a church. So, but anyway, here's or very little. So here's the point I want to make. You still have to go after the system. We have a constitution we do not follow. And if someone Mays talked about, okay, so what's the practical way to do that? Well, that's what I do at the Conservative Caucus. And our organization does train people how to do grassroots stuff. And we're building and growing that all the time. We've got resources all over our website for people to learn practically how to get involved and do things that will work. But it takes a collective, large effort that is not necessarily highly organized in terms of a centralized structure, but can be done in an organized manner if enough people are willing to do it. The Tea Party wave of 2010 is evidence of the effect of that, because you had a change in the Republican Party of 62 seats with new members, 48 of which were brand new Republican seats in one election cycle. And the Republican Party didn't organize this. The National Republican Campaign Committee of the House didn't. The National Republican Senatorial Commission didn't do it. It was just a grassroots movement because people got mad. They had enough, and they decided collectively and not centrally to do things. How did that movement get co-opted? In part because the members that went up were easily co-opted, apparently, or many of them. And I watched this. I was right in the middle of it, watching it all happen. Got co-opted by the Republican leadership. You also have Barack Obama out using the IRS to intimidate conservative groups that wanted to organize and build systems to win elections. That was literally the entire reason of the whole Lois Lerner IRS thing. So you still have a system that is going to go out to destroy you. If you don't register your business,
not necessarily. No,
hold on a minute. If you don't register your business, the system is coming after your business because it'll clamp down if you don't register. Then that will happen. This is literally what's happening in Brazil right now. And I know people in Brazil who are suffering right now because of this. And I'm telling you, that's the thing you have to kill. You still have to kill the government. The Constitution killed government in American in human history. It killed it, and then we went away from it. So you have to go back and take the system down. That's a long-term process. Learning the skills of grassroots politics, being regularly involved, and of enough people doing that over a long period of time. I have been begging people to do this for 30 years, and I've had some successes, some modest ones, and some moderate ones in different areas. But it's a continual process, guys. We have to look at ourselves and how we do things. And Maze, that's why you're right. What are the practical things I need to do? We address that in my organization. But that you got to keep going after that. That is the answer. We can argue and wish that someone would come and save us all day long, but no one's coming to save us. We have to
Jim,
save ourselves.
exactly.
Listen.
So let me just interject real quick,
yeah.
Maze, please, if I could.
Okay.
I just want to say one thing to what you're saying, because I thought the same thing. I really did. Now I'm coming, and I know you probably aren't familiar with a lot of my story, but listen, I've sacrificed a lot. Okay, there's things that have targeted myself and my family, which I tried to protect. And then I asked why, and I was relentless in my pursuit of the truth, in pursuit of the facts, in what the hell is really going on here. Why am I still being targeted and attacked? And I'm like, these people are relentless, but they're so they're disgustingly weak. It just didn't make sense to me. And then it clicked. Because I myself was still contractually obligated. So once I broke those contracts, unbeknownst to me at one point in time, shit just magically disappeared as if it didn't exist. Because there is one thing that is instilled, which even these rats know about, and that's if you're in contract, you're bound to the contract or the terms thereof. So if you remove the element that's looming over us, because they can't even do their own dirty work, they got to hire out, right, in black ops programs and blah, 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 or other people, then you don't have the issue. People are afraid to take the leap because they're afraid to be targeted, but they have looming things. So once again, it's not removing ourselves, it's correcting the issues that were falsely presumed upon us.
Okay,
That's
so John,
really
I'm going to let Maze speak, but I'm just going to very quickly say this. I'm not usually quick, but I'll be very quick. You can do that all you want, and I think it's all important. There's no doubt about it. It has its importance. The moment you have a judicial system that will do what's happening in Brazil, which is literally throwing people in jail just because they have a political opinion, then you can try to break from the system all you want. They're still coming after you. You have to go after the system. And that is something that we must protect on a regular basis. And we haven't done a very good job in the last 100 years of doing that. Not to mention the fact that the system, beginning in 1913, with the Federal Reserve and with the income tax, and then later on with the FDR administration, and then later on with the Johnson administration, expanding government so greatly, we have to go after the government. So you can do all that you're talking about. I'm not saying it's not important, but it will not solve the problem.
Yeah, we need to be on
Jim,
offense. I
Jim,
couldn't agree
can you
more.
stand around for a little bit after May speaks so I can ask you a question?
Okay, I just have so Jim, I respect your knowledge and all the efforts that you've made, and I think that, not saying that it's not working, but I think that there has to be more because it's not working fast enough, right? And of course, this is going to take us really thinking outside of the boxes that we've been conditioned to think in. And I think that I like John's his suggestion is one that if it were to be mass people doing it at the same time, it could potentially it could disrupt, which I think is a good thing. What I think maybe if we could get some sort of an analytics, like so we have who's an AI person? Okay, can we use AI? I think that we could literally find ways and be able to prompt and find, I want to know how many people it would take across what states and what those actions would need to be and the time frame in which that would bring about change. you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we need to better understand the scope before, because it seems so murky and actionable right now because we're talking a lot of, we're ping-ponging between, philosophical, ideas, and then the tactical physics to kind of, like disrupting the system with the way that John said. But like, is there a way to leverage AI to come up with like because all of the legal shit I think should be in there, and we could be able to kind of figure that out, but figure it out from like how many people at the county level, state level, federal level, and what amount of time, and what do they need to do, those types of like that. I think it would be really helpful for us to at least map that out so that we can better understand what the scope
Maze,
of it
wasn't
is.
it Ramaswamy who talked about getting rid of the magisterial administrative class and cutting like all these different agencies in government? I think that could be the whole playbook, right? Like literally taking it down to the studs and getting all the bureaucrats, the deep state, the all the administrators that are the ones who actually pull the levers that are told by their overlords, get rid of them. And I think start from scratch, right? Build up a new system, use AI or technology to figure out how to implement it. But I think it starts there. You have to get the rot out. You have to exercise the cancer. And I think that's where it would start. That's what I loved about Ramaswamy. And I'm sorry, we have to wait till 2028 for him to be able to affect that if he can get in.
Hell, shit, we can get an interview with him. I know Grant Cardone or Gary Cardone is friends with him. Let's pull him up in a room. I mean, you know what? Let me text him right now.
Yeah, he sat down with Gary for like 2 hours. It was on YouTube. It was great. I actually watched it, and that's why I support a lot of the things that he said. I wanted to ask Jim, though, real quick, what did you mean, and if you could explain what you meant when you said that politics is downstream of culture?
Well, crudely, I guess, to make it very clear, what I mean is that where the politics goes is where we go, or the politics goes where we have already gone. That's the whole point. Like, we don't like these corrupt people in DC, but we got to ask ourselves, what are we doing about it? When you look at some major voting blocks that vote against their interests or don't vote at all, in the religious community, you've got a small portion of Catholics and evangelicals that actually vote. There's a very large portion that does not. When you look at, for example, well, the Black community votes against itself in these cities all the time. I mean, the whole destruction is because all the politicians that keep saying to them, well, we're going to fix this by creating this program. They got a myriad of programs in these cities, and it never works. In fact, it's getting worse and worse and worse, but they keep voting against their interests. You got business people who, want to get special benefits from government. And this is where the lobbying stuff can come in. And so they work to get those special benefits so that the government will work against their competitors on their behalf. And by the way, the answers are all very simple. I mean, Maze, what you're talking about, knowing all these numbers, everybody knows the numbers. I could pull those numbers. I don't need AI to figure out all those numbers that you're talking about, because I do it all the time. I've been doing it for 30 years. I mean, in various geographies where I'm working, it's very easy to find where you need to go. What you need is the will. And if American voters came out and kicked everybody, Republican or Democrat, if we just had a movement in this country, we said, okay, if you're presently in office, we're voting you out, it would be a good first step, even if you had Democrat control. I mean, I don't advocate for Democrat control. I'm just saying that if we kicked if there was no one who's in the legislative body in this country, if they were all out of it after the next election cycle, that would be a good thing. It would be a start, but it would, and that only, but it would be a good thing, because the system's corrupt because the politicians are the ones who build the system, and we elect the politicians. I mean, I hate to give you the bad news, but that's the story.
They're bought out, though, Jim. We can elect the perfect politicians. The problem is what happens once they're elected, and also what treasonous transactions
I
are
want to
being
interrupt
made
you
on
to
the
say
side.
this. You're right, except that then we got 2 more years to kick them out when they do that. And then we got another 2 years to do it. That's the system. That's how it works. And if you don't like the fact that people can be corrupted, well, you might as well just be out of the human race, because it's a human race problem.
Come on, Jim. Come on, Jim.
No, he's
100%
right. Let me jump in here. Hold on, everybody. Hold on.
Yeah, I agree.
Then I'll be a reptilian.
Everybody
How
stop.
about that?
Everybody
Okay.
stop for a second. Okay, mic's on. One, we can't even figure it out in this space, right? This has been going on. This room was ending 45, almost an hour ago. We haven't been able to figure this thing out. I mean, there's the conversation that's been happening right now hasn't even made a step forward in progress.
Wait, Mr.
And I was,
Mr. Mike, can I please speak?
not gonna hold on, not right now. Hold on, I'm gonna let you speak for not right now.
Interrupted by
Right now.
Peter.
Read,
Okay.
read. I know. Read the room. Hold on. So what I'm saying is, I listened to this go on and on, right? Talking about how we fix things, and we didn't even make an inch of progress in this. And we're talking about literally, this is the microcosm of what it is that we're seeing. Like, how do we fix something? How do we figure out something that we fix, at that level when
we get involved?
What,
May I
but we
please
were, but we
speak
just,
onto
I
my
just
answer?
listened.
Sorry. Can I? Or no? I'll stop if you.
You're already talking.
Okay, so I wanted to say, I appreciate Jim a lot. Like, I love you and what you stand for. And Colorado is a great state. I'm not trying to be weird. I don't know how to do this. I'm saying that I have just been there. I went to Estes Park. It was amazing. Okay. And so I want to also know, why is there no purple pill in the little bottom right? That's weird. Isn't that weird?
Because Mike changed his mind about he didn't want a video space. His hair wasn't good enough, and that's one of the glitches that
But
happens.
like, even if it's not a video space, you should still have a purple pill. Like, I feel like
No. If you switch, here's the thing. So I'm talking about a glitch. If you make a space and you put it up and you say, "Hey, I want to have a video space," and then later you can change it before you launch the space, and you go, "I don't want to have a video space anymore," they punish you and don't give you a purple pill.
Yeah,
anymore.
that's mean. That's mean. I don't like that.
I think